Ron, is there any additions to the agenda?
No, Mr. Chairman, I do not have any additions to the agenda. Thank you.
County Council, will you read items for closed session?
Yes, Chairman. There are a handful of items for closed session. The first is labor negotiations, a conference with your labor negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. The county negotiators are Adrian Caleb and Ken Caves, and the employee organization is All Unit. There's one existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection D1, Avila versus the State of California. There's a public employment, public employee appointment pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. The title of the position is Veteran Services Officer. And the final items are a conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation pursuant to paragraph 2 of subdivision D of 54956.9, significant exposure to litigation, 2 cases. Thank you.
Is there any comments from the public on the closed session items? If not, we'll go into closed session. County Council, anything to report from closed session?
There are no reportable actions from closed session at this time.
Okay. Invocation will be by, is David here? By Dave Votak, Harvest Community Church, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be by Supervisor Fred Fraser.
Let us pray. Dear Lord God, we thank you for this day, all the business that's about to come before the board, and we pray that there would be great wisdom, great truth, great communication, that everyone would be heard, and the wisdom of the supervisors would be seen by all. And so, Lord, on these last hours, we've been thinking about fires in all the other counties. Lord, we know the devastation of fires even in our own county. We pray for lives and buildings and just the nature that is in harm's way right now. We pray that you would allow the firefighters be able to stop these fires from getting worse. And we pray for just the healing work that needs to happen, all the rest of the redoing of things even in our own county after the severe fires that we've faced even in these past seasons. So, Lord, would you fill us with your Spirit this day? We're glad that you know us. You know all of our thoughts and our feelings that we've even brought into this building today. And we pray it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Please join me in saluting our flag. Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we'll open and close in memory of Mr. Wheeler.
Yeah, I've got 4 this time, and boy, I tell you, it's the older we get, the more we see of these. So, especially when they're younger than us, it really hurts. The first one I wanted to talk about was Delight Dugovich. She had a little store in Korskot at the Korskot Historical community right there, and this lady has done everything for people. She's always donating, always her time and from her store. The second one is Peggy Van Amen, who's been up there for many, many years. Her husband died about 3 months ago, I guess. And They were together many, many years, and I think it kind of broke her heart when her husband died. The kids and I all went to school together and stuff, so she passed away. And then Cindy Gaspera hasn't been up that long, but my boss Wiley and I developed a Flying O Ranch down at O'Neill's, and Cindy and her husband, and who passed away a couple years ago, bought one of the lots actually next to it, and we got to know them really well. Great neighbors, and she was way too young to pass away. And then the last one is Bill Putman. He was the manager of Best Western Hotel up there in Oakhurst. And he's been the manager about 15 years ago. And the owner, Gil, passed away a couple of months ago. And I don't, it's just so strange. Bill, I know, hasn't been feeling the greatest, but I think that even bothered him, and because Bill was young. But he's the one that always gave us breakfast, and I think a dinner and rooms for the RCRC basket we put out every year. He's been doing it for at least 10 years. And so now I got to break in a new person, whoever that is, that they get to manage that. But he's also spent all the years he's up here on the Visitor Bureau board. So he went everywhere with the Visitor Bureau, and if it wasn't for him, the new BID we started about 8 years ago now, or 7, to help finance the Visitors Bureau, because we couldn't afford it to board out of our general fund. And he talked his owner, Gil, into voting yes, and they had the biggest block of votes to get that passed, and that's how we got the BID started. And so he was a great leader on that. So we lost all 4 of those in the last couple of weeks. And then the other thing is, this is so sad. This Peter P.J. Kazamiski, he goes to Yosemite High School, and he's a little guy, but tougher than heck. I think he's 5'6" or 7. He weighs 110 pounds. And 2 weeks ago in football practice, he got hit so hard it broke his leg below his knee so bad they had to amputate it. And this little guy is so tough. I just like a moment of silence just for him to say, get well. He's already putting out that he's looking at a prosthetic leg so that he can still try to do football and wrestling. That's the 2 things he did. And they said he was so tough, and to have something like that happen to such a young guy, it just broke my heart when I found out about it. So they've got a GoFundMe up there at the Chase Bank in Oakhurst, and I actually gave him some money. And when he gets well, I'd like to bring him here and just shake his hand for everybody. So just a moment of silence for him. I just appreciate that. Thank you.
That was great, Tom. Yeah. Public comment?
Public comment. The first 15 minutes of each regular session is set aside for members of the public to comment on any item within the jurisdiction of the board, but not appearing on the agenda. Items presented under public comment may not be discussed or acted upon by the board at this time. For items appearing on the agenda, the public is invited to comment at the time the item is called for consideration by the board. Any person addressing the board under public comment will be limited to a 3-minute presentation to ensure that all interested parties have an opportunity to speak. Any handouts to the board must be submitted to the chief clerk of the board for distribution to the supervisors. Anyone addressing the board is asked to print their name clearly on the speaker sheet at the podium. Also, all persons addressing the board may state their name and county of residence for the record.
Good morning, Tanya Say, CIO. I wanted to take a quick moment of your time to introduce you to a new face that you're going to see quite a bit of, Sergio Perez. Sergio is a new hire of ours. He started October 1st, and he is going to be running the board equipment. Jay will be training him over the course of the next few weeks, and then we'll be turning it over to Sergio, so he'll be around here. I wanted to just give a little bit of background information just because I think that it says a lot about Sergio. Sergio was a 2013 Madera High graduate. He left for the Marines in the fall. As soon as he graduated, he left for the Marines, and he spent boot camp. That year he spent Thanksgiving and Christmas at boot camp. He now has served his 4 years as a Marine in the IT department, and about April last year, he knew he was getting out. He has a young family, and he decided to stop by and see if we had any openings. We were able to work with HR. We've got him as he started on the 1st as a desktop support technician. He has quite a bit of experience in tech support, and he also worked some audio-video equipment with the military, and so we are very excited to have him, and I just wanted to take a moment just to introduce him so you guys would know this new face.
Thank you for your service and coming back and employing it here. We really happy to have you on.
Thank you, sir. Very
Welcome
excited.
and thank you very much.
For your service. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
We'll see you every week then, huh? Good. Well, ask Jay how rough we are on him. We're pretty rough on him.
Good morning, Christina Beckstead with the Madera County Farm Bureau. I just wanted to let everyone know that we have our annual meeting and harvest celebration this Sunday. It'll be held at the Chowchilla Fairgrounds at the Eastman Hall. Should be a fun-filled night. It's an opportunity to celebrate our 102 years in existence and also to have a little fun. We have the Peterson Farm Brothers coming. They do the ag parodies, the farming parodies you see all over Facebook and on the internet. And then we're going to have a dessert auction, which includes desserts from all of the Board of Supervisors. So we have our celebrity dessert auction. And then we also have other dignitaries within the city and the county that will be also providing desserts. So Sheriff Varney, the mayor of both Madera and Chowchilla, and a few others. So anyone wants to come out, there are still tickets available. Doors open at 4:30. And there will be a prime dinner served at approximately 6 o'clock. And we will also be giving awards to the agriculturalist of the year, and we'll be recognizing the educator of the year under the Farm Bureau.
Yeah, and we jumped right into public comment after the moment of silence, but I had wanted to open and close in the memory of the people that lost their lives in Las Vegas. It's good to see you here today, Christina. Christina was there, and when I found out that she was there, in politics you have friends and you have friendly foes, and Christina, I love working with you. I thank you for always working hard and being a teammate most of the time. Like I said, a worthy adversary, but a valued teammate, and I'm happy that you're safe and home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I wanted to address something in public comment. I visited the site of part of the site of the rim fire. It's quite an extensive fire, but I went specifically to the Hetch area. I wanted to see what the results were later on after the fire, and I was surprised to see that it's been some time since that fire occurred, and it still looks like Mars. I mean, like moonscape, like a nuclear holocaust took place there. There are literally places and literally thousands of acres where there's not even a bush or a tree.
Yep.
Scorched earth. And as you look up the river where Hetch Hetchy delivers water, the river itself is inundated with sedimentary deposit. It's just like silt runoff, and it's 3 or 4 feet thick, and it's just what a disaster. Our failure to address forest management, it has consequences, and it's something that has to happen. We have to get back to reasonable logging, to grazing, and to controlled burns, so that these situations don't occur where there's a catastrophic fire that takes everything in its path. And what I was really looking for was an example of like Foresta, where when stuff did come back, it just turned into chaparral, basically brushy growth and no trees. And that's exactly what's going to happen in this circumstance. There won't be trees. There'll just be problems.
Absolutely.
And it's very sad to see that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, on the consent calendar, I'd like to draw your attention to item H, doc number 3349, Child Support Services Department. That should read, and authorize the Director of Child Support Services or their designee to sign. That correction. And then also on Y, our Treasurer Tax Collector has requested that Y2, distribution of excess proceeds of tax sale APN 002-114-007. That's a resolution. She'd like to pull that item from the consent calendar today.
We had one more person, I think, for public comment. Can we go back to that? Mr. Chairman?
Let's go back. I didn't see you.
Hi, Mark Lloyd, Course Gold, California. I really didn't have a comment, but I had a letter to submit.
To the clerk
over here?
board. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Consent calendar. Consent calendar.
So it is a protest letter for one of our other items.
Okay.
Which item?
It's one of the protest hearings? It's one of the protest
Oh,
hearings.
okay.
Those are all the corrections I had to the consent calendar, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
My thing ain't working.
Yeah. Mr. Wheeler?
Yeah. Still ain't. Item F is on that auction for the cars. Anybody here for that? To know where's the auction at?
Supervisor Wheeler, we can get the specific information and get that back to you. I don't believe it's clear in the board letter. Typically, I know
It's
we
not
use
in the letter at all.
Yeah, I know we typically use an auction service that's here in Madera, but we can get that information over.
Okay.
Report back.
Yeah, I just had somebody call me and they wanted to try to bid on it. I said, well, I'll find it, and there's nothing in there.
Okay, I'll get the information in.
Item K, is that mail inserter for mass mailing at $179 a month? Would it be cheaper to buy that? I think it was a 3-year contract if I read it right, if I remember right.
Hi, Sharon Semple, SE Revenue Services Manager. We didn't discuss the purchasing of it. We've had it since 2012, and we just need to renew the contract.
Right.
They're going to give us a new machine because that one's,
Wore out?
Going out.
Yeah, I mean, has they checked on, seeing if it would be cheaper to buy them and have a maintenance contract or something, or leasing it? I mean,
Well, no, I haven't checked on that.
would it
You want
be
me to
worth
check on
doing?
that first? I don't know if Whitney did. Whitney Cox is handling the agreements and contracts. So.
Yeah.
Supervisor Wheeler, one of the things that we had explored, and I don't know if you want that to be part of it too, is we're trying to centralize that function within the mailroom. But I think there was a reason, as Sharon had talked with Diane, there was a reason that they couldn't use the centralized. So I don't know, maybe we could just take a closer look at it, look at the purchase, and then whether centralization makes sense.
Yeah, I think we ought to look at it before we sign this. I mean, I think it was a 3-year contract, wasn't
It's a
it?
5-year contract.
So just check and see. I mean, and if
Okay.
it'd be better that we can use to combine that stuff, it might work time to do it now when it's
The
up.
problem was having it centralized here, I would have to come every day and bring letters to fold, and it was just
Yeah.
a lot.
We do have mail delivery service that comes twice a day to their office. So we could look at it a little closer if your board wants to bring it back at the next board meeting.
Yeah, it'd have to be 10,000, anything less than 10,740 plus then an ongoing maintenance contract with it. So I think
Okay,
that's
I'll
a
look.
pretty simple
It's
calculation.
just worth looking at and see.
I'll look further into it.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Then item N, like Nancy, that they want that other extra $158,000 or whatever it is. Let's see here for that project. Yeah. First of all, why did it take a year before they done the work?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Jared with Public Works. This project was actually awarded prior to the winter season last year, and so it was delayed start until we had the chance to get out there with better weather. So that's what the delay of the time was. And then as far as the extra costs, if you look in the backup on the board letter,
I look, it said crude oil, is it in, it says it's in the contract, if the crude oil went up, that we pay extra. That's in the contract?
Yes. Yeah, that's a standard Caltrans provision.
And then the manholes, who measured those? I mean, if they didn't know the manholes were a certain size?
Right. So the reason why those are the riser rings for the lids,
right.
And in order to make the proper cross slope on the grade for the street, we had to make some adjustments in the field, and it was either take the manholes entirely out or go to smaller rings to make that profile a little bit lower. So this is definitely the cheaper option for that.
Yeah.
Especially ongoing.
But why didn't you, who's our engineer? Couldn't figure that out before we done it.
Well, we had varying grades in the field that we had to look at, and when we got out there and actually started grading the profile, grading the road to the profile, we had to match up with existing curbs that were out there.
Yeah.
And so because of that, we had to adjust that grade to make sure we were getting that cross slope. We weren't creating a higher cross slope than what we...
And who was the engineer on the curbs that couldn't figure out the right...
The curbs were already in place. This is an existing subdivision, so
yeah.
Those were all there before, and we were trying to match up to them.
They had to adjust for the curbage, too, it said.
You're talking about the ADA ramps?
I guess that's what it is. They said they had to adjust it for it.
Yeah, so the largest cost was the ADA ramp reconfiguration.
Well, why did they have to refigure it if it was already part of the contract?
Well, the specified types of ramps in the field, again, wouldn't fit and meet the requirements for ADA based on existing conditions that we found when we actually started excavating for the project. So we had to adjust it to a different type of ramp.
Okay.
Is this common on when you're redoing something versus new build?
Yeah, it's much more common when you're trying to match up to existing facilities out there, because you can try to do your best to design to meet those, but you can't always match up until you actually get in the field and start laying it out. So in this case, yeah, we had existing curves, existing gutters that we had to match up to, and so it took some field fitting, which resulted in changing some of the design.
The only other way to do that is when you're engineering it, you would have to go and shoot literally every single slope everywhere, and that would probably make the engineering cost higher.
Correct. Yeah, that would be an added cost in the engineering. And then also we were using what we had for as-bills for the subdivision. So.
And those probably settle at some
Correct.
point during.
Yeah, some of them gone up or down.
What they were before.
A question for you. Some of the defects on some of the area, have they been repaired?
We have had some repaired, and we are working with a contractor to get some of this stuff that hasn't been repaired yet done.
Still, we're not paying them till they're done, though.
We do have a 1-year warranty on all the work that was done, so we will. The contractor's on the hook too.
Well, I'll tell you what, the streets look real nice. They look real good, and of course with the hot weather, I can see where near the stop sign some of that blacktop kind of rolled over. Yeah.
So they're doing the repairs now? We don't pay them until the repairs are done, right?
We pay them on the contract, but their contract requires them to have a 1-year guarantee, and there's provisions that they have to respond to repair.
I know, they're asking for this extra $158,000, whatever it was, so do they get paid that before the repairs are done?
Yes, they do. Unfortunately, that's the way it works. It's for work completed, and then the warranty work comes after the fact, but it doesn't cost us any more money to do that. It's in their contract.
Wait till the last 360 days and say, hey, we'll fix it now?
Yep, it's 1 year.
I know, but you say there's repairs that need to be done right now.
Sure, and we'll address those now, but within a year, if something else comes up, we can get them back out there to fix it.
What I'm just asking is the repairs that need to be done now, are they going to do it now? Are they going to
Yeah.
wait 360 days and say now?
No. We're working on, I'm sorry. We're working on it right now to get them out there within the next week or so to fix the stuff.
I don't want to be like 274 2 years later when they finally get the package.
Yeah, no, I understand. That was a
happened.
challenge. Yeah.
Well, you guys are up there, O and P on the SB $1. You got 5 projects, all in the valley. How come we don't get any of that money?
Your people use the valley roads too, Tom.
What goes around comes around. The list is on O. $1.68 million.
So this first round of SB1, we have kind of a limited amount of funds. We have about $1.6 million. And what we've looked at doing with all these projects are current roads that we have that we can do preventative maintenance treatments on as opposed to full rehab, which is really most of our roads require full rehab. So these are what I would call fairly minor treatments on roads that we've rehabbed probably within the last 5 to 10 years so that we can preserve those and they don't get to a point where they need to be rehabilitated. There's another item for the Measure T projects, and on that list you'll see that there are some projects up in the mountain area that are slated to be done.
When will the next round of SB $1 come out?
Next year.
And it'll be
so next year we get them all up there?
Well, good news is next year we should get a lot more money.
Well, I agree with that. But you said major deals. One's a micro seal, one's a fog seal, one's a greater cap, another one's a greater cap, another micro seal, then an overlay. What's the difference of those and up there? It's the same type deal.
Jared. Mr. Supervisor Wheeler, I think one of the advantages we'll have next year is that we're going to have a pavement management system in place and really have a better understanding of the conditions of our roads countywide. So
I know we're working on that. But
yeah, we are. And by next year, when we have these SB1 priorities submitted, we'll have, hopefully have that in place.
Well, I just think District 5 needs to get a little bit of this money too. I don't understand how we got completely left out on it. So.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Ahmad with Public Works. Last night, before the end of the day, not last night, we did advertise for the pavement management system. So day one started yesterday.
Right.
And hopefully by next year, when we have more funds for SB1, we will have more time to study what needs to be done. We have a system going on, and we'll be in better shape. More money too.
Supervisor Fraser?
Yeah, and on that, this, in terms of where it goes within the county, if these dollars aren't, if they're just used as Band-Aid fixes, elsewhere, it's not good use of money. I think this was in a prioritization of where it would actually get the most bang for the buck, if I'm correct.
This is correct. I mean, these segments of the roads is what we decided that it's due, and that's the best. That's the best way we can stretch our dollars. I mean, these are highly traveled roads and in need of immediate attention. And we needed to move really fast to get something that's shovel-ready, but it's maintenance and off.
So just taking out line boundaries, this is just where you would put it no matter what?
Correct. And this is the fastest way for us to apply those dollars and reap the best benefits.
You can do the same thing on any of the roads. No matter where it's at.
Correct.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just make sure that's clear. I mean, Brett needs to know that too.
Yeah, where's
that's why
District
we're
3?
working on the system.
District 3 isn't there.
That's right. The city takes care of yours. That's why.
There's lots of county roads in District 3. What's up with this?
Yeah.
No, I'm teasing.
Well,
no, I
know,
like
but you have the most wonderful
He's
roads
serious.
in your
Don't
district.
kid you.
District 4.
Where's that at? Where's District 4?
We have a road that needs a replacement, Road 28. We have a new school there.
I have a lot of those.
Yeah, we have a new school there, and we have a campus there, and nothing's happening here. Forget about 5. We got to concentrate on 4. Or take that bridge money from 5 and put it into 28.
As long as
You're all on my mind.
As long as you didn't spend any of your SB $1 in Merced or Fresno counties, I appreciate it.
We're okay, right?
We're out of the scope of our allowed discussion here.
Okay. One last thing. Is Highway 233 going out of Chowchilla east, is that our road or is that the state road?
That is going to be repaired by, we have a grant for that. He's talking about 26.
Okay.
From
yeah,
east
so,
to Eastman Lake, there's a grant, a federal grant.
Yeah, so 233 only runs between 152 and 99. East of 99, it's county. Well, it's city for a short period, and then it becomes county road. It's Avenue 26.
Well, when you first turn off the freeway, it says 233, because I was trying to find a number because I had a guy that lives up there, travels every day, and he's bitching at me at it, and I'm trying to call you. He said, "You're in my district. You're my representative. You bitch about it." So, you are doing 26 one of these days.
Avenue 26. Yes,
design,
we have. We actually have a federal land access program grant that we got a few years back. They are working on the design. It's all being done at the federal level, so we're just contributing monetarily, and that's reflected in our Measure T program as our match portion to that. I think it's about a $15 million project.
Jeez,
and we're contributing around $3 million, $2 or $3 million.
And the feds are doing the rest?
Yeah, and the feds are paying for the rest. And so that will go Avenue 26 from the city limits all the way out to Road 29, which goes north up to Hensley Lake, and then a portion of 29 up to the limits of the U.S. lands at Hensley Lake.
Perfect. Good. CEO?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to let your board know that we do have our fleet services manager here who can answer the question about the auction vehicles.
Steve snuck in on us.
Yep.
There you go. How you doing, buddy?
Stephen Von Flew, Central Garage Supervisor. You got a question about the fleet auction?
Yeah, where's it at?
It's going to be in the yard behind the Madera Tractor Company out on west of Howard in their lot, and it's going to be at the last Saturday of the month, which I believe is the 28th.
28th?
Yes.
October?
October.
Okay.
And we're going to have several units there this time. We should have about, I think, 12 to 14 units.
Oh, okay. A guy asked me, and I said, I thought it'd be in the backup, but it wasn't. Maybe from now on, put it in the backup when public reads this. They'll know where it is, too. The more people get bidding, the more money we can get. So.
Yeah. And I'll put as we get farther along here in the next week or two, I'll put a note out through Madera County all users.
Okay. Yeah, if you could get it to me, I'll even put it on my blast list.
Will do.
So, Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the board? Let's take out to the public. Any comments from the public?
I make a motion we approve the consent calendar pulling Y2.
Y2. Second.
Chairman, did the board also have a desire to pull item K as in kangaroo so that staff...
Oh, right, so we can get that item K. Pull item K and Y2. Who seconded? Is that okay?
Mm-hmm. Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Okay.
Public hearings. 6A, Community and Economic Development Department Planning Division. Hearing to consider the proposed changes in the business assistance guidelines and adopt a resolution accepting the revised single-family housing rehabilitation assistance guidelines programs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matt Schreiber here, Planning Director. I also have Robert Mansfield, a Senior Planner with us. As Rhonda has read into the record, this item is an amendment to our program guidelines. The big change in working with the state is the ability for the county through this program to fund well rehabs and replacements. Previously, the state had come down and said you have to have a project on the actual single-family residence or the home on that property, and you could also then rehab the well. So this change will allow for that. It also will allow for the county to fund lateral connections from homes onto mainline water improvements. We have several homes just outside the city of Madero that we've been working diligently with the city to try to get water service out there. This change in the program guidelines allows for the county to fund through this program. It's all income qualified individuals to fund lateral connections from those homes to that water main in the street. So with that, we're available for any questions you have.
Is that it?
That is it, sir. We're here with any questions that the board may
Do we
have.
have any questions?
To the public, huh?
Any questions from the public on this matter? If not, we'll bring it back.
I make a motion, we approve 6A as given.
Do we have a second? Second. We have a first and second.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0. Item 6B, Community and Economic Development Department Planning Division. Hearing to consider adoption of a resolution approving the submittal of year 2017 Community Development Block Grant, Notice of Funding Availability, application for the purpose of housing and rehabilitation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matt Treber again with Robert Mansfield, Senior Planner with the county. This is a request to direct us to prepare application to the state for the latest round of CDBG programs. These grants are awarded up to $1 million. They go towards revolving loans on housing rehab. And we just adopted those guidelines previously. This also will allow those homeowners that are program eligible throughout the county to come in and request those fundings. It's a 30-year zero-interest loan that the county provides to that. It's a great program we've used. We've done about approximately 350 homes for rehab purposes since its inception. So just getting direction to proceed and apply for those grant funds. And we're available for any questions you have.
Keep it going.
How do you decide? How do you pick the homes that are going to be rehab?
Sure, that's there's a process that goes through, and there's a loan committee that's made up of individuals in the planning division as well as administration and the supervisor as well that makes those decisions. Ultimately, we work through self-help enterprises in making that determination, and we look at the need, make sure that they're program qualified, and we do our best to fund as much as possible. Coming down, just to add a little thing for District 5 and Supervisor Wheeler's district, we have contacted the state and pressed the state for the ability to use these dollars for some tree mortality as part of a housing rehab program as well. So if an homeowner is getting one of these loans for rehabbing their home, putting a new roof on, or deck, or stairs, they can also qualify for funding of dead tree removal as well. So that's been a big push we've been making, and the state's been making as well.
Is that right? So these cost of rehab, these homes, these are loans, right?
Correct. There's
all loans.
Correct. All
payable
loans.
by what? What's the period?
So it's a 30-year zero-interest loan. There is no monthly payments. It is due upon the 30-year completion. Now, the county records a lien on the property, and we're second deed to any mortgage that exists on there. So if a homeowner were to sell that property to someone not related to them in any way, then that's paid through the lien process and paid through title when they do that. So the neat thing about the program is it's revolving. So we collect those payments, those loan payments back. They go into program income, and it just keeps feeding this program. It's
okay. Very good. Any comments from the public on this matter? If not, we'll bring them back to the board.
Move to approve 6B. It's a great program, and it's been going on for many years.
We have a second?
Second.
We have a second?
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0. Item 6C, County Administration Department, General Services Division. Hearing to consider the sale of real property. Number 1, discussion and consideration of approval to adopt a resolution for acceptance of the highest bid and authorization to sell real property located in the city of Chowchilla, County of Madera, State of California. Approval of offer and agreement to purchase real property, assessor parcel number 024141005, and authorize the county administrative officer to sign the purchase and sale agreement and any subsequent documents regarding the sale. 2, discussion and consideration of approval to retain sale proceeds in the general fund for allocation in future fire department projects.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
morning.
Maria Miranda with General Services. Before you today is a resolution authorizing the sale of county-owned property. It's a 0.58-acre parcel in Chowchilla. The property is a former location of the Dairyland Fire Station. The station was in operation until 2006, when the last volunteer transferred to Station 2 in Chowchilla. County Fire has determined that the station is no longer needed and is not suitable to recruit new volunteers. On July 11th, your board authorized a resolution declaring the property surplus and noticing our intent to sell. Bidding on the project closed on August 4th, and we received one bid from Gary and Julie Cornelia. Following negotiations, the sale price of $115,000 was determined. Should your board approve the sale today, the bidder's $10,000 deposit will be applied to the purchase price and will enter a 30-day escrow with the Cornelius. And with that, I'm available for any questions.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yeah. Put you on the spot. Did you get an appraisal on this piece?
We did get an appraisal. The appraisal came in for $190,000, but it listed the highest and best use as its current use. So it's an odd-shaped parcel. It's actually in a non-conforming legal parcel. It's a 0.5-acre parcel that was carved out of a 40-acre parcel. So everything out there is zoned ARE 40. So it's the only 0.5-acre parcel out there. And then it's unlike no other private person can use it as a fire station, obviously. So due to the non-conforming parcel, as well as the fact that fire indicated to us that there's some well issues out there as well. And on top of that, the Cornelia family is actually the ones that deeded us the property back in 1978. They carved the 0.5 acres out of their 40 acres and deeded it to the county at no cost. Since the county we could not locate any documentation showing that it would revert back to them, should we not use it for a fire station, we had to list it for sale. So we're not accounting for the land price and the cost that we negotiated with them.
Have you got are they alive still? The family still alive?
It was the grandmother. It's actually the son and wife that are acquiring the property.
They don't want it back?
No, they do want it, but they're the ones that are purchasing it.
Oh, they are?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were the sole bidder.
Okay. That's better yet then. Forget the appraisal.
Anybody else? No questions? Take it out to the public on this matter? We'll bring it back? Oh, is you going to go?
I guess
No.
not.
Okay.
I move that we approve.
Second.
We have first and second.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yep.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
I seconded that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. D, Board of Directors, Special Districts, County Service Area Number 1, Indian Lakes, Public Works Department, Administration Division. Hearing to consider adoption of a resolution establishing increased water service rate and levying the increased rate within County Service Area Number 1, CSA 1, Indian Lakes.
Good morning again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Abdel Khayat, Public Works Director. On November 15, 2016, your board directed staff to complete a rate study for all our water and wastewater systems and districts. And we approved a contract with Bartle Wells and Associates who are conducting those studies. Today we're coming to you with the first simple protest hearing, and as a result, for your approval for the new established rates for 3 of the districts. We will start with CSA 1, County Service Area 1, Indian Lakes. With us today for a presentation, of course, first we all know Mohammed Al-Khatami, our acting Special Districts Manager, Andy Saldate, the manager of our business office, and also from Bartle Wells we have Mr. Doug Dove and Mr. Eric Helgeson. And right now I'll give it to Andrea to take it away.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Andrea Saldati with Public Works. Just to go back in time a little bit to discuss why we are here and why we're doing these rate increases. Obviously, districts are in dire need of increasing rates over periods and periods of years of non-rate increases. Our priority for how we kind of timelined these rate increases were obviously the ones with the most county debt, and those were the top priority, and that's what we're here with today. We're the ones that had the most county debt and in the most dire need of a rate increase. We took a two-prong approach to these rate increases. One was getting the county debt paid for, and two, making these districts self-sustainable with a rate that was appropriate for doing so. We have a volumetric rate for districts that do already currently have meters in place and are being billed based. So we do have one district right now that is going forward with a volumetric rate. We did, through these studies, do capital improvement plans, which are available if needed. Right now, we are not proposing any sort of rate increase for capital improvements just because of the timing of either state funding applications or having to seek loans or bonds for those capital improvements. We do have an outside engineering firm that did provide those capital improvement plans, which are available. But again, right now, the immediate need was to eliminate their debt and get them self-sufficient. Once we get into that situation, then we can move forward with trying to do some sort of loan or bond or submit a state application, which some of these districts are already in the process for submitting state applications for these large capital improvement projects. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Eric and Doug to go over a summary for Indian Lakes and their proposed rate.
Thank you, Andrea, and good morning, supervisors. Again, my name is Eric Helgeson. I'm with Bartle Wells and Associates, and
Can you pull the mic closer?
Oh, sorry. My name is Eric Helgeson with Bartle Wells, and I'm here with the partner in charge on the project, Doug Dove. And yes, we did do a in-depth study on Indian Lakes, and I believe the summary sheet is on the document.
Pull a little bit closer to you.
Oh, sorry. The summary sheet, I believe, is on the document cam. But just, I'll just be brief. Our goal was for the service area to be self-sustaining, meaning that it could pay on its debt, build reserves, and fully fund operations. An additional part of the study is we want to make sure that the rates are based on the cost of service. So we did have an additional recommendation to move from a penalty tier to a straight volumetric rate, proportional to this, so the cost is proportional to the service provided. The district, if no increases are made, is projected to have a deficit of $70,000 moving into the next fiscal year. And so with the rates that we propose, I'm sorry, my throat's a little foggy. Excuse me. So with the rates that we've proposed, the district will be fully self-sustaining. We're proposing that the fixed rate be $44.01 for single-family homes, which are most of the homes have 1-inch connections, and have a rate of 75 cents per 100 cubic feet of water consumed. This will create an average bill in the first year of $55.27 from the current bill of $24.91. And then we're proposing that increases be 3% going forward to keep pace with inflation. And that's the summary for Indian Lakes. Thank you.
Just to give the board a brief timeline of what we did in order to get to this point in time. Indian Lakes has not had a rate increase since the year 2000, so we're looking at 17 years. They have the lowest rate in the county of Madera. We did hold a community meeting where there was a very nice turnout. We held that meeting in July. Right now, the meters are read one time per year. We will be changing that to quarterly, so that way that adjusts a little bit better with their new volumetric rate. Right now, they do have a debt of over $200,000, and with this rate increase, we are proposing to be able to pay that back over a 3-year span of time. After that, that revenue that is being collected for their debt repayment will be used as a reserve fund in order to start to establish a savings account to do large-scale capital improvement projects. If you have any questions, we're here for answers.
Can you bring back up the slide again? I just needed. So, okay, you actually just answered my question when you said that what it was going to be used for after, or if that dropped off after the debt was repaid.
Right.
Yes, so we're trying to get the debt repaid as quickly as possible, also being cognizant of the situation of the district and the residents. There are some districts that aren't able to pay back a large lump sum of debt, mainly the smaller districts with less units, less connections. But in this larger district, it is feasible to pay the debt back within the 3-year span of time, and then that revenue being collected for that debt repayment will be used to start essentially a reserve fund for whatever is needed, repairs or a capital improvement project.
And then so these gray bars after the rate study, that's equal to what they were paying plus then the debt that they were taking on every single year, and then add 3% each year for the escalator. Is that correct?
Yes, actually the gray is the expense of the district. The blue portion is the debt repayment. So then in that 4th year, you'll see the reserve starts to build. I mean, in the 5th year, the reserve starts to build.
What I'm asking, so the number that you have in this one when it gets to the gray and blue, that's equal to what their actual, it's not like inflating the cost, it's what they've actually been paying over the last, or what the actual direct costs have been to them each year?
It's their projected expense, the budget for the following year, and then those expenses we did include an inflation factor as the years go out.
And so, but it's pretty static. It's what they have, what their actual expenses have been. It's not adding something in new or
correct. And you can see
we're not building in any new overhead from the county.
No.
Okay, just one.
No new overhead, and you can see that in the previous years it's been funded through some capital.
So there's had to have been subsidies out of the not subsidies, but general fund loans to keep the lights on and the water coming out.
200,000 more.
Correct.
Yeah. So I think it's important to note that.
Right.
Thank you.
One thing I'd like to mention is all these studies will repeat in 5 years. So every 5 years, we're going to take another look at them and see what each district needs, and we go from there. So that's within the understanding and the resolution.
So,
Roger Wheeler?
Yeah, is there a cost of living built into this, even after the 5 years, if nothing's done? Is that percentage still going to be in that?
No, there isn't. With the Prop 218, every 5 years, the cost of service needs to be reassessed, and then another 218 notice will need to be issued for rates to be increased after that initial 5-year period.
So at this point in time, we are essentially changing the process.
Right.
So in 5 years from today, we will be back in front of you with a new rate increase and a new rate. It will never stay stagnant. Whether that rate increase says that the rate that they have from 5 years ago is totally fine, then we go forward with that. But again, we're not going to just stay with this we used to have a CPI adjusted every year. That no longer is going to happen. Every 5 years, we will be reevaluating the rate and either proposing a new rate or it will stay at the rate that it is with the inflation of the 3%.
Is that in our policy now that says that we'll do that? Because, in 2001, the board voted to get these done. Here we are in 17, and we're just now doing some of them. So
there are some adjustments that need to be made to county code and policy, and as we are going through this, we are seeing that many of these districts need a formal policy written, even like a reserve policy stating that you have such a percentage of your average expenses kept on hand, or subsidies, whatever it is.
All 5 of us could be gone in 5 years.
Yes, we are working on the policy now.
That we don't inherit, like we all inherited this mess. We didn't make this. We inherited it.
Yeah,
you guys inherited it. I want to make sure this don't happen again down the road. That's for sure. 5, 10, 15 years ago. And a couple other things. That's probably the oldest district in the Madera County, just about. I mean, up there in the mountains for sure. And they started that in the 50s. And the county has really slacked off. Well, when we took it over, we didn't run it back then. That's right, they inherited it to us, and the board took it. So people know that if they even want to get a loan, some kind of a government loan, probably any kind of bank loan, to improve their district. If you go back to that chart again and show how they're in the red, nobody's going to loan them no money because they can't pay it off.
Correct.
And so even the government loans, they won't let you do that. So we got to have that. They've got to know they got to do it. And one of the protest letters, something I can mention no names because that's not right, they said that their prices tripled. I don't know where they got the triple from. I mean, it's not tripling even after the 5 years. So I hope those people, I don't know if they were at your hearing or not, but I don't know how you stop something when they put out something like that. That's off. It just makes it really hard. So, and we all got to bite the bullet every time, and the public and these different districts have got to do it too, because we cannot keep spending our general fund dollars on these districts.
It's a gift of public funds.
We don't own. We just manage it for you. Thank you. Good job.
Dave Rogers? Yeah, I'd like to point out it's no different than I'm self-sufficient on my property. My well provides water to my family. I have another well that provides water to my trees and what have you. And I had to dig those wells, and I've absorbed the cost of those wells, and I pay for those wells to pump the water out of the ground. And it's 3 times as much as it was 14 years ago.
You're not exaggerating like this one letter.
Just PG&E.
Oh, just PG&E. Yeah.
3 times as much just for PG&E. I originally drilled the well for $4,000. It cost me $22,000 to drill a new one last year. And my other well was $35,000 just to deepen it, and I did that one myself. So I want to point out to people who keep consistently saying we're digging them, we're gouging them, and where does the money go? Folks, it costs money, and it consistently goes up in cost to have water, to have utility, to have these things. It's a cost of living, and that's the way it is. Thank you.
So,
I had...
just a quick comment, what Supervisor Wheeler was trying to reach from us. Yes, in 5 years we will come back with another study with adjusting the rates. But meanwhile, every year, as you see, there is consideration of increasing the rate at about 3%. So that will take care of the CPI increases.
Okay.
And then in 5 years, we'll just come with another model.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I just want to make sure that we've got it covered. We cannot let them stay stagnant, like Andrea said. Stagnant is done.
Yes, if I'm here in 5 years, it's coming back again to the board. Yeah. God will.
Well, we need a policy. You could be gone.
We are creating the policy as we speak.
We need a policy that says
absolutely
that they will. We're not doing this study for just to be spending our money. So
as we get through all of these rate studies, each district kind of holds its own story. And so that is somewhat dictating the policy that needs to be at hand, because we're seeing nuances with every district. So by the time that we get through all of these rate studies, we will have a proposed policy for you by the end of the fiscal year.
Okay. You know, Ahmad, what Dave said over here, you know, the property owners, they complain about the rate increases, and it seems like we go to them when we're going to raise the rates up. But I think it should be an ongoing situation where we notify them of the situation financially on this district, so that when we hit them with the rate increase, they don't go ballistic. They don't say, well, what are you doing with the money? I think it's lack of information on our part and their part why they argue about the rate increases. They say, well, we're paying so much, what do you do? Same question, answer, what are you doing with the money we've been paying?
Yes.
So they say it in a way that they mean misappropriation, or we're, you know, that doesn't work. I think the information should be up there continuously so that they know what the process and what they have to pay and what it's used for. Yeah. Supervisor Frazier?
Yeah, you know, this comes down, we started talking about this, we somewhat have a policy in place, or at least direction to staff, because we said bring these back, make sure that there's, you build in to pay for the next study in 5 years. What has happened is that we've gone 20 years and just picking and choosing different districts, mostly the districts who asked for a rate increase to be brought forward, and so it was simple because they were asking for it, so we brought that one forward, and they somewhat kept up with the times, but then other ones we just never did because politically it wasn't popular to bring it up. So this is everybody. We have to look at all of these, and this isn't about picking or choosing what the easy ones are or the ones that we don't want to deal with. It's all of them. And so we've had 20 years of not looking at rates. And so now instead of, you know, every year they going up 3%, which everybody can kind of stomach in their budgets, we're going to have to go up, you know, in this case, you know, 50 to 100%, because we've lagged behind on it, while costs obviously started going up. So, you know, at one point they had a surplus, and then everything was good, but then costs came up, and then at one point it crossed the line, and now we have to get them out of it, not just Indian Lakes, but various other districts. So now we have to go through the process that we have to raise rates. It's not without any input. There has to be the protest hearing. So my question is, since we're going to be doing this with all of these different districts, what happens when we can't, if we're not able to pass a 218 election, which sometimes is a lot easier to not pass one in a smaller district because it takes less coordination and people to come out. What happens, because we now have said there is a problem, and the general fund budget can't continue to subsidize or even loan these districts. What happens after that if it doesn't pass and they can't pay their way?
Supervisor, thank you for the question. My understanding is if the protest hearing does not pass and the rate cannot be adjusted, then the board of directors of each district, which is the board of supervisors, can decide to continue or discontinue service at that point.
And what are the options for the residents? Because
take it back or not?
Exactly. I mean,
bottom line.
What you just said, it doesn't make sense. You know, we're talking about water.
Correct.
And they can't, if they don't want a rate increase, you're going to shut the water off. Do we have the authority to do that?
As a board of directors, I'll defer to council here, but go ahead.
Chairman, it wouldn't be an automatic turn-off. It'd be a long process, and we'd come before you and discuss what the options are. But if it would be, if the money's not there to pay it, then it's a budget consideration of whether you want to supplement and continue to provide this, knowing that you're not going to get the.
Yeah, and I don't want to cause mass panic about a turnoff. I'm talking about, you know, past that. This is, I don't want to come with our hammer and say no more water for you. I mean, that's a health and human safety kind of deal. I'm talking about disillusion. How do we then turn it over and say, we want you to have water. Here's all of the infrastructure that you have in place that is getting your water. We just can no longer run it. Because I don't want to turn off people's water and do that. I think that's a little draconian. I'm just talking about if we make the dollars and cents decision, we take some time and how do we dissolve that district or where do they go to? Where do they turn to after if the county is no longer the last agency of last resort?
Absolutely. We will be coming to you with options, and then your board will be the deciding factor on the way to proceed forward.
Supervisor Wheeler? Yeah, thank you. And one of these letters we got, I just read it in the hand today, actually. It says that he said that we had a large reserve fund. Did we ever have a large reserve fund on that one?
Andrea?
I'm sorry about that. Can you repeat the question?
Yes, this protest letter we got today, it says that they had a large reserve fund that no one seems to be able to explain where that money was used as it is gone now.
For Indian Lakes?
Yeah, Indian Lakes.
Indian Lakes did have a cash balance that they carried over from year to year. But again, as Supervisor Frazier was explaining, as PG&E bills go up, the rates obviously stay stagnant, but expenses were going up. We've had numerous emergencies within that district.
Like I said, that's the oldest system. I mean, there's probably going to have to be a major overhaul on their water lines one of these days.
Yes, and so essentially, the infrastructure is falling apart, but yet we don't have any money to repair. So that cash balance that they did have has been used to remedy the situation, to keep them in water at this point in time. So they did have a cash balance, absolutely, but that cash balance has been used for emergency purposes to make sure that their system was functional at this point in time.
Right. And then it says we pay larger property taxes than most other states or counties. It don't make any difference. That property taxes that we get cannot be used for special districts. That's what some people, I just don't think they understand that. They own their water system, just like Tom Wheeler owns his, Dave owns his. And we own our water systems. We fix them. They own them. We fix it for them. But they own it. We cannot use my tax money to fix any of these districts who are talking about today's problems. So,
thank you. Comment? We'll take it out to the public. Come on up.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning.
My name is Jim Brawl. I'm the president of the Property Owners Association of Service Area 1. Lakes.
Mic on?
All right. Yeah, my name is Jim Brawl. I'm the president of the Property Owners Association of Indian Lakes, Service Area 1. First of all, I'd like to thank Andrea and Mohammed and Ahmed for the support that I personally needed to present the rate increase to our community. And I asked for 10 years of financials, and I also asked for graphics. And I'm the type of person who likes to look at graphics because that's how I look at things. Looking at numbers is rather difficult. And I presented this before our community at one of our meetings. And I also talked about Prop 218. It took quite a while to educate our community on the Prop 218 vote. And I also talked about the current rate we were having, like $21.46 we were paying for our monthly water bill. Plus there was a loan added to it. At one of my last meetings, a gentleman came up to me and said that when the county took over the maintenance and operation of our system, we were grandfathered in at $21 a flat rate a month. That's where you got the triple, 61. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So I thought, where's he getting its grandfather.
Right.
So I dumpster dived into the meetings going way back to 1990 and 91. When the county took over our system, the rate was $21 a month. So that's 25 years at the same rate. Wow. And when I looked at that, I thought, that's incredible. I mean, what's going on with the county? So it took, Mohammed was there at one of our meetings, and he did a wonderful job trying to explain, even though he, being a messenger like I was at times, when you're a messenger, the public will try to shoot you down. And and that's still going on to this day. I wrote a letter that went out, a newsletter, and I said that our board of directors approved the rate increase. And when I went by the bulletin board that's on Road 417, that protest letter that you have was on the board. Oh. And that was where he got the $61 triple increase. So that's how that came about. But right now I have some concerns because I've been around the community long enough to know that our system is over 50 years old, or pretty close to it. And we've had a lot of major failures. We had a major water main break on Road 417 near Apache, and I didn't have the opportunity to ask Mohammed what was our cost to repair just that one break. So my big concern now is the age of our water system. If we have any more large incidences, we don't have the funds. You're going to have to loan us more money to repair those. And so that's been one of the discussions that have been going on in our community and our board, is that we need capital improvement. When I had a meeting with the board, with the Mohammed, and previously they talked about being fire hose ready. We only have one community water tank, a 750,000 gallon water tank. And I was informed that we're not fire hose ready. And that's coming down from the state, from what I understand. Right. So we're still trying to figure out what the next step is, since we can't get any go for capital improvements. Where do we sit in case we have more major incidences?
After you pay the loan off, I think it was 2 years, wasn't it?
2 or 3 years.
3 years. Then you got that money to bank on.
I realized that. And then we were able to apply for grants.
Right. And then you can apply for grants. And there is lots of grants out there.
Oh, I understand that.
You've got to be able to pay it back, see? So even grants, even if you got a grant, you cannot, they will not fund free money even if the system is not self-reliable.
Self-reliable. I understand that.
So that's what we're trying to get to that point, Jim. And Jim does a great job. I mean, that guy's been to every one of my town halls. He goes to every meeting there is. So he's out there hustling and looks out for those people. When I thought when you got up there and said when you wrote that letter that we're going to raise these rates, I thought they were going to impeach you, So you ain't the president no more. You agreed with them. So, but that's what we're trying to do. And if once we're down the road, and even I think maybe they can answer, DWR would probably, if they know that it's set in place, this here is, and that something major does happen and you need to get a loan or a grant, once they see that you are making that attempt to get sufficient, they will probably still do it, still loan you.
Is that correct? In other words, once we show good faith?
Then you're doing it, see? So, and I think that's what they're asking.
Yeah, so in the situation of applying for state funding, essentially by passing this rate increase, you are one step ahead of the game, because the state would ask you to do a rate study and a rate increase in order to pay off the debt. So by doing it now, you are one step ahead in the application process. Once this rate increase, if it goes forward, we can look at starting an application with DWR to look at the highest priority capital improvement needs and get that application going. Again, this rate increase puts you one step ahead in the game.
All right. Okay, I appreciate that. One other item is, if this is is approved, it looks like it's going to happen because we have had a lot of favorable comments, you know, at the general meeting and also the board meetings, and it took a huge effort to educate our community, and that's what it takes. You just can't dump it on them, you know.
Yeah, right.
You know, you would get somebody to protest right away, and as long as you explain to them in 8th grade education and the letters that go out, you know, they fully understand. So, but the one other item is, if this is approved, when will that rate go up? Will that go up next fiscal year or start when?
The rate would be active as of November 1st.
As of November 1st. That's what I need to know. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
You come to the podium, sir.
Anyway, good morning. My name is Clyde Wheeler. No relation to Tom.
Thank God for you, huh?
Don't let him kid you. He's my first uncle.
Anyway, okay. A big part of what I was going to talk about here at the last minute, but first let me preface that yes, as much as I hate the idea of a rate increase, and as much as we're going to be getting in trouble with our neighbors, I happen to be in favor of it.
Thank you.
Because primarily, you can't go all of this time without something in the way of a rate increase and not expect this kind of situation to occur where we owe money instead of having money in the bank. First thing I was going to kind of comment on is if we have a major problem or break, I see this 3-year payback actually as being pressed on into the future because we have no reserves to take care of anything. Now, another thing I don't think we have really addressed, and I'm hoping that we'll address it or get around here, is how we're going to transition from the current annual reading to our quarterly reading rate. Are we going to go back and use the July reading as our baseline? Or are we going to take a baseline reading here in the next few days? So at the 1st of November, then 3 months down the line, we'll have a new, then we'll get our new quantity use and how much will be billed for. That's kind of the question as to how we'll transition. Then the other thing that concerns me, and a lot of people, and I'm hoping that the staff, which I genuinely appreciate their efforts, is that they will work up a reporting system. At least with Indian Lakes, we do have a water committee and we do have a property owners association that we can receive those reports and distribute them to our property owners if we need to. Then it's reporting. So anyway, that happens to be the sum of what I was going to comment about. And so thank you very much and for your efforts and the energy placed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'll let Mohammed touch on the meter read issue. Reporting wise, as long as we know what you guys are looking for and what you guys need, we can provide reports to the community, to the HOA on whatever kind of timeline that they have. We're able to do that as long as we know what it is that you want and need. We can get that to them.
Good. You heard that, Clyde?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mohammed, Public Works. We will be taking a reading November 1st just to know where we're starting off. That way we can bill accordingly. A reporting system, we already have a reporting system with other districts. We can accommodate reporting monthly reports as far as expenses and revenues. And I also just want to add that it helps to have an HOA, an active HOA, that is willing to work with the county to educate the district to hopefully pass rate increases to fix and correct their system. So
that would be great. Yes, go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Howard Smith. I'm here to protest this water bill. I am in favor of an increase. But the problem I have is we are allotted 3,500 gallons of water a month. And the new charge for that will basically bring our water bill up to $73 a month. So I feel that this has kind of been, the residents have been misinformed in ways. Even most of them don't even know how to protest the vote or vote no against it. So therefore, I don't think the vote is fair. And I would like to see a fixed rate of somewhere around $53 a month. And I think that would give you reserve money. And I think there should be a cap on the reserve money, because we're looking at about $280,000 a year. So I think at some point, when the loan's paid off, we have a reserve for repairs. I think there should be a cap on that. And let's say 6 years, 8 years, whatever it takes. Pay the loan off, get $750 million in the reserve. That should be adequate.
How much was that? How much?
$1 million, 750, something like that, just a reserve to do the repairs.
Yeah, because if you had just to replace that 750,000 gallon tank, they usually run about $1 a gallon. That's just to buy it. That's not to install it or anything else. So.
Right.
And you need more water for fire. Somebody had told me that before. So.
I don't really know the figures or how much it costs to maintain or repair a system, but I have inquired on what does the system need for repairs and maintenance, and I do not get an answer. So we don't know if it's a $500,000 upgrade or what. We don't know. But at $280,000 a year over 10 years, that's a lot of money. And there's no cap on that. So where's all that money going to go?
Well, I think
just going to sit in an account?
No.
Collecting interest?
Mr. Smith, I think...
Is it going to keep on rolling 280
No, that's what they
months?
said after that 5 years. If that, when they do the rate study then, and if it's, you guys are raising that kind of money you think that might be raised and you're not using it, then they would probably lower the rates. So that rate, that's the reason we're doing it every 5 years, so we can make that adjustment if everything's working nicely. But, if you have a big disaster, who knows what's going to happen in the next 5 years? Maybe we have wet years all 5 years.
We
Maybe
might
we
have a lot of water.
Right. Yeah. And money. If the rates stay like that. So we'll know in 5 years, and it'll be on the average, I guess, when you use that, if you use more than that 3,500 gallons, I guess it does go up to $50-something. But with this thing, you're still below that $50-something you were talking about. After the 5th year, you're still only $49.57. So unless you use more water.
Right, but for that $44, our allotment is $35 at the $24 rate.
Right.
So they're doubling that.
Right.
Actually, it's going up 2/3.
Okay.
But you also, for our 3,500 gallons, it's really going to cost us $73.
Also, for an aging infrastructure, you're going to if there's going to have to be a bond issue or some kind of loan, you also have that funding stream after that could help pay down that loan versus having to, put a bond issuance on that everyone has to take on their house, and just to get the infrastructure up to whatever you need. Right.
All right. Thank you.
It's not going to cost any less.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, let's bring it back to the board.
Mr. Chairman, before we
count.
Yes. Before we close public comment, I'd like to report that there were 516 property owners notified. We had 7 protest, and so so there is no majority protest exist. Thank you.
So then we vote on it now?
Yes.
I move that we approve item 6D with that rate increase and thank the citizens very, very, very much.
Second.
First and second. I'll give it to you.
You heard it. Right here.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0. And Mr. Chairman, you wanted to move to 7A for Social Services Department?
Would you announce that we're going to skip over and come back to the public hearing?
Okay. So we would skip over 6E and 6F, and we'll take up 7A for Social Services Department. Presentation of a proclamation to recognize the week of October 9, 2017 through October 13, 2017 as Eligibility and Employment and Training Staff Appreciation Week. Whereas Madera County Department of Social Services staffs eligibility workers, employment and training workers, eligibility supervisors, and employment and training supervisors to assist the county's most vulnerable residents by providing access to benefits needed to progress towards achieving self-sufficiency, eliminating food insecurity, and providing access to needed health care. And whereas these social services professionals administer a multitude of public assistance programs, including CalFresh, Medi-Cal, California Work Opportunity and Responsibility to Kids, CalWorks, General Assistance, Foster Care, Welfare to Work, and Public Authority with professionalism, compassion, and expertise. And whereas these employees offer knowledge of local resources, jobs, programs, and policies to those seeking self-sufficiency. And whereas in order to meet the increased demand for service in the community, these individuals have implemented a more streamlined and effective service model to better serve Madera County residents. And whereas eligibility and employment and training staff deserve recognition and appreciation for their valuable contributions to our community. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of Supervisors of Madera County does hereby proclaim October 9 through the 13th, 2017 as Eligibility and Employment Training Staff Appreciation Week, and thus honor these professionals with the utmost gratitude for their commitment to the residents of Madera County.
Good morning,
Good
Chairman,
morning.
Supervisors. So it's my pleasure here to present our staff. We currently have 111 eligibility workers and staff and 27 employment and training workers. Before you will see that we have Karen Sandu, our Deputy Director. Karen Sandu is our Deputy Director, and this is the first time we're actually providing a proclamation really celebrating the responsibilities of this department in this section. Generally, we refer to our social workers and our child welfare division, but this is the first time we're doing a proclamation, and it's really because Karen brought it forward. So I really appreciate that, Karen. We have Marilyn Quick, Raquel Zangzua, or something like that. Thank you. Maria Ramos. And we have Teresa McLaughlin, and Michelle Bennett, and Chris Aguirre, and Eleanor Galamontes, and we have Jeannie Chapman, who is absent today, unfortunately, but Maria Chapman. Okay? So we just wanted to acknowledge their service to the county and appreciate that you're considering the proclamation.
Thank you very, very, very much.
We appreciate you so much. We allowed you to not have to go to work this entire morning, right?
I appreciate Supervisor Poitras bringing us forward and interrupting the session. Thank you very much. Yeah, a photo would be great.
Okay, folks, at this time, we're going to break for lunch. Be back at 1 o'clock.
You have to keep your tie on for a little bit longer, Mohammed. This next one should be easy and get things.
Okay, 6F. We're going to switch to 6F before 6C and do Board of Directors, Special Districts Maintenance District, number 73, Quartz Mountain, Public Works Department, Administration Division. Hearing to consider adoption of a resolution establishing increased water service rate and levying the increased rate with Maintenance District number 73, Quartz Mountain.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Andrea Saldati with Public Works. Again, we are here to do the rate increase for MD 73 Quartz Mountain. Just to give you a little background information as to how we came to this point. MD 73 has not had a rate increase since 2010. We did reach out to some key community members in order to discuss this rate increase and to kind of get the temperature of the community. They do not have any formal HOA or community group in that district, but we did speak with a couple of the key community members, and they seemed to be on board at that point in time, and we did give them the information and discussion with them as to what was going to be moving forward. We are proposing a volumetric rate. They already were on a tiered rate for their meters. They do have debt of over $50,000, which we are proposing to pay back within a 3-year span of time. Capital improvements for this district, once this rate increase, if passed, goes forward, we will be looking at trying to do some sort of loan or bond for their capital improvement plan, again, done by our third-party engineering firm. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Eric from Bartle Wells to go over the summary of their rates.
Thanks, Andrea, and thanks, Commissioners. Board Supervisors. I apologize. So again, the goal with our study is to bring the district to be self-sufficient, meaning it's funding operations, repaying debt, and going to eventually build reserves. This is the first step to being able to pursue capital projects in the district. And the first step is making sure it's self-sufficient. It's currently operating at a deficit, and the proposed rates will bring that we'll be able to fully fund operations. We also wanted to make sure that the rates are cost of service based, and we felt that the excess charge was not still proportional to the cost to provide water. So we're proposing that this district also just pay a straight volumetric rate. So as customers use water, they pay for all of the amount of the water they use. Going back to just to touch on this point from the previous public hearing too, under 218, once you give a notice, you may do increases up to the noticed amount for 5 years, but then you may not do any more increases unless you do another notice. So that's why we're on the 5-year schedule. For this district, with the increases, their average customer bill will go from $48.68 to $73.99. And that's the summary for Quartz Mountain. If you have any questions, we'll take them.
Not on this one.
We'll take it after the public.
I make a motion we approve.
I need to make the announcement. Excuse me. MD 73, 139 property owners were noticed. We received 4 letters of protest, hence there's no majority protest exist.
Okay. That means 175 to 4. I make a motion we approve item 6F and do the rate increase.
Second.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers? Yes. Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0. Okay, 6E, Board of Directors, Special Districts, Maintenance District, number 36, Easton Ocrola, Public Works Department, Administration Division. Hearing to consider adoption of a resolution establishing increased water and service rates and levying the increased rates within Maintenance District number 36, Easton Arcola.
So, again, same people sitting at the table. To get you up to speed on what we've done with MD 36, we did have a community meeting. It's a very, very small community, so it was rather easy to get everybody in one place at one time. I would like to thank CAPMC for the use of their facility and a translator, which was greatly appreciated. We met with them on July 22nd, and we actually had a very good turnout. The vast majority of the residents from that area did show up and did speak their concerns. Because of the fact that this is such a small district, the rate increase is monumental for them because there is no economy of scale in this district. There's very few water and sewer units, so there is a large impact to the residents, which we were trying to be cognizant of when we were looking at their capital plans and reserve and paying back their debt. Right now, the system has over $43,000 worth of debt, which we will pay back within a 5 to 6 year span of time. Again, because of the small number of residents, we were trying to be cognizant and not gouge them with a higher rate to get this debt paid back. Things that affect the debt payback are the timeliness of people actually paying their bill. Because it being such a small district, if just a handful of people are not as timely paying their bill, that affects us being able to repay. So that's why the term is between 5 to 6 years, just depending on when the repayment money does come in, if it comes in on their bills or if we have to roll it over to the property tax. Right now, we are completing a state application for capital improvements for that district. You will be seeing a resolution being brought to your board on October 24th, a signing resolution giving the Public Works Director authority to sign so we can submit that application. So their capital improvement plan essentially is being taken care of through the state. As long as we are awarded that funding, we will be able to move forward with a new well and meters. We are also working on what we call their sewer rate. The district is a set of septic systems, all separate septic systems, and so we are looking at trying to bring down that sewer rate or possibly eliminate. We're dealing with our field staff to see how much we can kind of remove ourselves from that system, because essentially it's not a true sewer system. It's just a series of septic tanks that we are only there to empty. So we will be moving forward trying to see how we can reduce or eliminate a sewer rate for them. Again, I'm going to let Eric go over their proposed rate.
Thanks, Andrea. This district is small, and it's important to emphasize that the economy of scale is not there. In the public hearing, we did communicate that, and it's really impressive that the county's already acting on securing that grant funding for their major capital needs. But this rate is a key first step in being able to make sure that they can secure that financing. We're recommending that their rates remain fixed. They're such a small district that any slight fluctuation in the revenue that comes in could have a pretty major effect, especially right now with trying to repay the county and build reserves. So we're recommending that the fixed rate move from $4.33 to $86.50 in the first year, and then increase it 3% going forward for the duration of the notice period. We also reviewed the sewer rates. The sewer rates were billing all customers $15.66. However, when we reviewed the cost, the major cost is per building, and so we modified the rate to be less for duplex customers, and to reflect that they're only paying half of one servicing for their septic system. So now the new rate structure will be $22.24 for a single structure and $11.12 for a duplex. And so the average customer's bill for both sewer and water service will move from $58.99 currently to $108.74 for a single structure going forward. Thank you.
Any questions on the board? Yeah, this is obviously a substantial increase. And we've talked with the people, and it's going to be hard, but it will get their system, and this will help us to get the funding from the state, correct?
Yes. So again, this is getting ahead of the game by doing this rate study and rate increase now. Essentially, when we are going through the funding agreement process, we will not have to do this process. We will already have a revenue stream to pay back that debt.
Great. So is it going to be debt, or is it going to be, this is a disadvantaged community. Could this be a grant?
With the state, it will be 100% grant. That's what we're applying for. But again, in order to get those grant funds, we have to pay off all of the county debt.
Right.
So this process is eliminating a process through the state funding agreement.
And then, the ongoing maintenance after should be hopefully less. This is they've had some major issues, like you see the spike and why we had to do the
Yes, and once the meters are in, we can do another rate study at that point in time, looking at what that volumetric rate needs to be. Once the debt is paid off, again, because of the economies of scale in this district, we might be able to bring their rate down a little bit and not build up such a large reserve by collecting this money for their debt. So once those meters are in, we would have to essentially reevaluate their rate at that point.
Is there any way to break it down where we have maybe a lower base rate, and then this is like the paying off that debt for them, because it will be substantial after it's done, that it's going to build up a huge reserve.
Yes, so when we build the volumetric rate, we look at things that are considered fixed cost and variable cost. As we are doing that, we can definitely try to figure out what those variable costs are and what those fixed costs are, and try to get it as minimal as possible.
Okay.
So, Supervisor, if I may say something. So with any state application, if it's going to be funded by the state, they will require a proof that the district they are funding, whether it's a loan or a grant, that they can operate and maintain their current and future systems. So this is what Andrea is saying, that is a prerequisite to any funding agreement that we may seek, is that we need to prove to them that Eastern Arcola, as little as they are willing to maintain and operate their systems. So kudos to them.
I just want to thank all of you for going out and speaking with the residents directly. I want to thank the residents of Eastern Arcola for understanding what it takes to have a good working system, and they're placing value on that, and they're willing to, even though they're severely disadvantaged, are willing to pay for what services. Now we just need to make sure that they get the services that they're paying for, and which I know we always do. But I just thank everybody for this heavy lift.
Thank you. Actually, this is what I know there's a vote coming, but this would be my last comment. I'd like to thank all of you supervisors for allowing us to speak to the communities, and staff work day and night, and I know day and night because I've been receiving texts way past their bedtime from them worried about all these issues.
Your bedtime.
Yes. I don't have one.
Get that right.
I don't have one. So what we did, I mean, the public outreach that was done in these three districts and others is all thank you to you and also to staff and everybody. And no matter what we do, we can still do more. So, but at least at Eastern Arcola, we had more than 50% of the ratepayers showed up, and they asked the right questions, and we gave them the answers, and they just understood exactly where we stand. And most of our meetings turn out that way.
Yeah, and this is this is going towards building trust between us and the ratepayers. When you look at the protest letters, it's, well, our system is bad. Why should I pay more? You don't maintain it anyway. Well, we don't maintain it because we don't have the funding to be able to do so in any different one. So we're in this catch-22 where it looks like we're just wasting everybody's money, and we're not. And everyone, this is my big problem every year. Well, our budget balanced at the end of the year. You guys passed a balanced budget, and so why do you need more? We don't have those expenses. It says right here in your budget that you passed that these are our expenses. Why are we paying more? So we have an opportunity again right now to do something good. If we're passing these, they need to see us out there and the improvements to their systems being done, and it'll make our jobs easier ultimately if we actually get behind this and show them that their money's going somewhere and they're going to have a better system, and we're not in all these we're not always behind the eight ball. So thank you.
One more thing I forgot. Also, thank you to Eric for fronting that cost. I mean, this is why we are doing this, because we cannot subsidize special districts. And your board and administration understood that, and with that money, we're here because of that. So thank you.
Any other questions from the board? We'll take it out to the public. Bring it back.
Move to approve.
18 property owners were notified with no letters of protest, so there's no majority protest exist. Thank
How
you.
many property owners is it?
18.
Oh, that's all.
I thought you said 15. I was going to say, how did 7.5 people come? But move to approve item 6E.
Second.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Very good.
Okay, 7B, Child Support Services Department. Discussion and consideration of approval to hire Araceli Maciel at the East Step for the position of Child Support Specialist 2, effective November 1, 2017.
Move to approve.
Second.
Call for the... Did you want to ask for public comment?
Public comment.
Public comment?
Call for the vote.
Bring it back.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
They're not always that easy, Sarah.
Watch it, Tim.
Thank you.
The next one is County Administration Department, Human Resources Division. Discussion and consideration to adopt a resolution appointing Vicki West as a retired annuitant to the position of Deputy Director of Child Support Services, waiving the CalPERS 180-day wait period from date of retirement and making findings in support thereof, effective October 11, 2017.
Move to approve.
Second.
We'll take it out to the public first. Bring it back. We have a motion in a second.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0. 7D, County Administration Department, Human Resources Operations Division, establishment of a Sheriff's Cadet Program. 1, discussion and consideration of approval to amend the classification plan and the unclassified service effective October 1, 2017, with recommendations to A, add the extra help classifications of Sheriff's Cadet 1 and Sheriff's Cadet 2 to the unclassified service. B, adopt the job specifications for Sheriff Cadet 1 and Sheriff Cadet 2. C, set the salary for each respective cadet level as follows. Sheriff's Cadet 1, $15 an hour. Sheriff's Cadet 2, $21 an hour. 2, discussion and consideration to authorize the Madera County Sheriff to establish a Sheriff's Cadet Program with authorization to enter into the attached employment agreement with those in the classification of Sheriff's Cadet 2 and who are sponsored by the Madera County Sheriff's Department to attend a police academy.
Well, we're not raising any rates here, so we are asking for some people, and they do cost money. So I think previously I've spoken to Mr. Chairman and the board about the fact that every agency around us has re-engaged a cadet program or started their own cadet program, and that ranges from Merced down into Fresno and our local agencies other than ourselves. The idea behind our program is a little bit different than the other programs. We've tried to save some money by making these employees extra help employees. They're not full-time employees with salary benefits, well, salary plus benefits. They're just salaried while they're here. And then we have structured in there a bonus program to where when they complete field training, not the academy, but actual field training for us, and then actually complete probation for us, they receive a bonus. And we came to these figures from looking at what someone would get paid if they were receiving salary and benefits, and in the long run, it's cheaper to do it our way. The actual funding for this comes from any approved vacant deputy sheriff positions. So as a point of example, we have a young man that was in the Explorer program. He started the academy a week ago, a little over a week ago. He started on Monday the 2nd, and he's currently attending the academy. If the board approves this, then he would be the kind of young man that we would seek out. He's a Madera County resident. He's a resident of District 1, that we would seek out to apply for this kind of program because they've shown, a propensity to want to not only work in criminal justice, but to work for Madera County. So be happy to answer any questions that you have.
What's been the history as far as this program in other counties? Do these cadets, do they follow into law enforcement in most cases?
Yes, they do, and that's the reasoning of having the Cadet 2 be one that you have to be enrolled in the academy, because you may hire a Cadet 1 at some point, and they may come on board and go, whoa, this particular job isn't for me, but you haven't invested the time and money in sending them to the academy yet. All of the folks that I've talked to from Mariposa, Merced, Chowchilla, and City of Madera, they've been highly successful in getting their people at least back out through the field training. Again, whether law enforcement ends up being what they think it's going to be, because sometimes modern kids think things are a little easier than they really are. It's a high rate of success, and the academy that the young man I referenced is in is actually an extra academy, meaning in a normal school calendar year, there would not be an academy that started in October. But there is such a demand right now that people, meaning the other agencies around us, are saying, hey, we have people to send as cadets. You need to start another one. That's why they did one that's now running October through April, because normal is January through June, then roughly July-ish through the first week of December. So most of your young folks right now, it's running about 80 to 85 to 15 to 20 of 80 to 85 are already sponsored, already employees of other agencies. 15 to 20 are unaffiliated. So it would be better for us to pick folks that are already predisposed to work in Madera County and most likely are originally or currently from Madera County to be our employees. So.
Beth Frazier?
So saying that unaffiliated, so you go in there, so everyone is then, all the different agencies are trying to get those last 15 to 20.
If they have any openings. So 2 or 3 years ago, when no one had the money to sponsor everybody, yes, everybody would be in there trying to grab the best person they can. So like the young man that just left our Explorer post and went to the academy, every agency down there would be tugging at them, hey, you want to come here, you want to come here, you want to come here. And that's why everyone either started or re-energized their old cadet programs, because they want to be able to pre-screen and send a really well-qualified person who's already committed to their agency to the academy.
Right, so then that you have a little bit more assurance that they're going to be coming to us if we're making that investment and to kind of brand them as part of ours.
Right, and that's, that's part of the reason to do the incentive bonuses too, because young people aren't thinking about what we're thinking about. They're thinking about cash in hand, and bonuses are highly attractive to them.
Yeah, I can buy a boat and become a...
I can make a down payment on that car that I'll be paying for the next 7 years or whatever. So,
sounds good to me.
I got one.
Go ahead.
Okay. This could some of the cadet programs like to have at Yosemite. I think they might have at Minarets. I don't know if they have them down here or not. No. Can any of those kids, can you present this to them and show them what we have to offer? Because they're already starting. They want to do that stuff anyway. I know.
So we will move forward slowly on this because, as I mentioned earlier, the funding for these folks as employees comes from vacant deputy sheriff positions. So I don't want to hold too many deputy sheriff positions open or promise too much to the public.
No.
I'd like to see, honestly, even though exactly. I've seen what happens with other people, but that's, what do they say in the investment world? That's no guarantee of future success. So I want to make sure we're successful, and then maybe at some point in the future, maybe a couple of years from now, we would be pushing this out. We'll definitely go tell them that it's available.
That's what I mean.
You literally don't know what could happen. You could have 2 or 3 folks retire next year, and we would need 3 kids to go to the academy.
Right.
And you're referencing the military cadets that are at Yosemite, and actually their advisor is one of our search and rescue volunteers. Right. So it would be a perfect segue into the community to get these folks on board.
Just on Facebook, there's this boy from North Fork, and you've seen him. He's at every little thing. He's a Boy Scout, and he just posted. And he's one of those cadets, and he said that I'm going to be a police officer when I get out of high school. I'm going to go to school to do that. And that's the reason it even flashed my mind, because he just posted that this week. He's a great kid. He'd make a great officer for us, and born and raised in North Fork. And his parents are doing that kind of stuff. And I know who he is.
Is he going to Yosemite right now, Tom?
Yeah.
Okay. Is he also one of our explorers? Because the kid I'm thinking of is also
he could be
one of our explorers. I'm not sure, he's fairly tall, brown hair.
Yeah, he's the bear,
Okay. So I'll follow up and make sure that they know.
But I know he's going to do that. Right. So, he would be your slave. He's just one of those
kind of people you want.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. This could be an opportunity to really expand on. So,
right.
And we got other stuff too. That they could do.
Well, the nice thing about the cadet program when they're not in the academy is if we had available salary savings to pay for them, there's a number of other job duties at either of the buildings that they could do on a daily basis if needed.
Exactly.
Fill in for the person who's we have program assistant 1s and 2s generally working at the front windows. Especially this young man, he was in the Explorers for 7 years. He's pretty well versed in dealing with people properly, even though he's only 20, 21 years old. So
you just can't beat it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for your interest.
We'll take it out to the public.
Move to
Bring it back
approve.
for motion.
Move to approve. Move to approve.
Second.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers? Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0. 7E, Community and Economic Development Department, Agricultural Easements for Central Valley Farmland Trust. 1, discussion and consideration of approval to adopt a resolution approving the easement proposal to the California Department of Conservation and California Farmland Conservancy Program for the Dennis A. Meisner Jr. Living Trust Beanie Ranch. 2, discussion and consideration of approval to adopt a resolution approving the easement proposal to the California Department of Conservation's California Farmland Conservancy Program for the Meisner Trust of 2013 Fred Ranch. 3, discussion and consideration to deny a resolution approving the easement proposal to the California Department of Conservation's California Farmland Conservancy Program for the Dennis A. Meisner Jr. Living Trust Polis Ranch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matt Trieber, Planning Director here. I also have Jamie Back, Senior Planner in my office, and I'll kick it off to Jamie here briefly for a short PowerPoint presentation on this item. This is the third time that this discussion has been before the board. It was initially back in May and most recently last month. And with that, we have a presentation and our recommendation. We did receive a comment letter from the City of Madera, from the City Council on this item as well. And after Jamie's presentation, we'll certainly be available for any questions the board may have.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So before you, we have the 3 resolutions which the Central Valley Farmland Trust is requesting. Staff has received directions, as Matt mentioned, to include the cities in the review process. So they did review that last City Council meeting, and the requests received both west of the City of Madera and south of the City of Madera along State Route 99. The county has had a long-standing policy for discouraging development on the west side of the county due to the prominence of prime ag lands. And also the city mentioned in their comment letter that they also desire to limit growth at the southwestern edge of the city. So because of, in that letter, the city did include that they have no objection to both the Beanie Ranch and the Fred Ranch resolutions. So this is a location map showing the properties both on the north and the south side. Areas south of the city's urban growth boundary have no endorsed policies which would limit expansion to the south. So this property is located on the east side of State Route 99, directly adjacent to the highway, and just less than 1 mile from the sphere of influence of the City of Madera, which would preclude incorporation of the Polis Ranch properties in the future. So because of this, the city is discouraging the county from supporting this proposal. And I have a map here showing it directly east of State Route 99.
It's the ones in the 2 black boxes?
Correct. So with that, staff is recommending approval of both the Beanie Ranch resolution and the Fred Ranch resolution, and staff is also recommending denial of the Polis Ranch resolution. Thank you.
Yep. Tom, did you have?
Yeah, I'm going to do it, but go ahead and Brett, you go first. Something before.
My just quick question. So it goes into this, and say down the road, the city or somebody buys the land from the Meisner family and wants to develop it into something else.
Can't happen.
Is there a way to ever get it out, or is once it's locked in, it's locked in?
Supervisor, excellent question. My knowledge and understanding is there is not a legal process that would allow for the urbanization of that parcel. It is a permanent ag conservation easement that is recorded against that property. And the property owner is compensated for giving up that development right by the Department of Conservation. In this case, on these issues, they are compensated by the Department of Conservation through the state for giving up that development right. So to my knowledge, there is not a process in which certainly there may be legal actions that could occur, but at this stage, I don't see the ability for that parcel to ever be urbanized.
Okay, and do you see in long-term planning that there's ever going to be an exit there? What would this be like to, I mean, it's prime freeway frontage, but, you know, if the seller's not going to do anything with it anyway, or not the seller, the landowner.
Yeah, and I mean, the county, we took a strong look at all of these instances, right? We didn't simply just rely on our friends across the street at the City of Madera. We certainly took their input seriously, right? That area, ultimately, at some point, it's conceivable that it would be incorporated into the City of Madera, not tomorrow or certainly not this decade or probably next, but it is less than a mile from the sphere of influence. It is on the eastern side of 99, and as Jamie had said previously, historically, West 99 is, no hold. We've recommended denial of parcel map application splitting property into two 20-acre parcels in the past based on that policy, that is our prime ag area. Cities never stop growing. They're never going to stop growing, and it's appropriate to plan for that. Property directly adjacent to 99 certainly has strong commercial, industrial value to it, and it would be appropriate to see that, and it has a strong potential for urbanization and urban development. When that time frame is, I don't know, but it certainly will be there before in perpetuity ends.
Do they get paid more because of the highest and best use on an appraisal, being that it's right on the freeway?
Certainly, and I probably wouldn't be the best. I think Charlotte Mitchell is here with the Farmland Trust, but my understanding is, yes, there's a fair market valuation that is appraised for the property, and they look at what that value of giving up the development proposal. And certainly on the Polish Ranch property, it certainly has much more potential for that development, and therefore probably, I would imagine, holds a higher land value for giving up the right to develop it, yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yeah, thank you. How many acreage is on each one of these? Like on that Polish Ranch especially, I'm looking at the map and I look all the back up, there's no acreage.
So the Polish Ranch, those are 40-acre parcels. Sorry, those are 40-acre parcels, the Polish Ranch properties. And then the ones, the Beanie Ranch, which is on the north side, I believe those are 20-acre parcels, and then south of is a 40-acre parcel.
So the
I can get you the exact numbers.
Polish one, this one, Jamie, is this the pieces going in or these two?
It's the two. It's the two parcels.
The two. The
yes,
one, what's the
north
dark
and
one?
south.
What's the dark red for?
The dark red is the State Route 99.
It's what?
State Route 99 boundaries.
This dark triangle. Right?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's properties on the west side. It's already zoned and planned for commercial use on the west side of the highway.
Yeah, and I believe we had a conditional use permit about 3 years ago for a truck repair facility on that parcel.
Oh, okay. I remember that.
So the I'm sorry.
So being on the LAFCO committee, this could do those islands that we're trying to avoid, right, Matt, that they that
certainly
does not like LAFCO to be doing.
Yeah, I think
this would be an island in the middle of the sphere here sooner or later.
Yes, that potential is certainly strong that you're going to have some pushback. I mean, the city has clearly spoken. They do not support a permanent easement on that property, and so incorporation into the city, I think the city will not be supportive of that incorporation of those parcels because, as you said, yes, it does kind of create an island and a conflict between the urban environment and the agricultural environment. The 99 corridor is going to be developed and urbanized. It's certainly, and it's conceivable at that location.
Yeah. Also, Where does, maybe she can answer, the California Farm Trust Conservancy dollars, where do they come from?
I certainly couldn't speak to that. I think Charlotte Mitchell may be able to tell you exactly where their funding is all coming from these.
Could you give us that answer, Charlotte?
It is on. Charlotte Mitchell, Central Valley Farmland Trust. The Department of Conservation in this particular case is our grant funder, and there are programs that reside at the State Department of Conservation that are for farmland protection. There's a farmland protection program. There is the additional state budgeted items like the carbon program that we are able to access. This comes from the high-speed rail mitigation funds that are housed at the State Department of Conservation. So those monies are directly being utilized for this particular project here in this county.
Most of it tax dollars?
These are not tax dollars. These come from the high-speed rail litigation. They're required to be mitigating for prime farmland loss, and Department of Conservation is the housing of those funds, and we are applying through a grant, much like others that are applying for that grant funding as well.
Who put the money in the high-speed rail?
Yeah, that would have to be.
That's not in my purview. So
it's still tax dollars.
Yeah. So those are the funds that we'll be able to utilize today for this project.
And you can use those off the ones that's not on 99?
Through the requirements, and again, the Department of Conservation is the one that reviews these applications and approves them or not approve them.
Right.
So under their requirements, yes, they're looking for protection of prime farmland.
It's just like any offsite mitigation when they.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's too, but it's interesting that far away from the 99. Where the high-speed rail is going. I can see what they're trying to do it out along it or something where it impacts it, but. Okay, thank you. I think that's all I have right now.
Supervisor Poitras.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When I saw the city's request to have this application denied for the Conservation Trust, I decided to take a look at the general plan of the city of Madera that was put together back in 08-09. I was involved in that, or at least approving it. And one of the things that, we really focused on was creating, these buffers, agricultural buffers and conservation buffers and open space and having that recognition of agriculture, as well as, recognizing property rights. In fact, here's a quote from the Vision 2025 referring to the general plan, and it refers to this 2009 plan. It says the updated general plan includes a specific development boundary and requirements for open space or conservation buffers between the urban boundary and ag lands. And it was a big deal back then because it was, again, we're looking at this development and it was all about, quality of life and having open space and having, these sorts of things going on. And then I thought, let me go take a look at the map, the planning map for the city of Madera. And I know that the city's talking about, wanting to save this land for some kind of development, industrial, who knows what, but, wanting to have it available. Well, if you look at the map, there are literally thousands of acres of land that is planned for industrial within the city of Madera. Thousands of acres. We're not talking about 50, hundreds. We're talking about thousands. Some, out by the Santa Fe tracks. There's a ton still in the Southwest Corridor, as well as industrial lands planned up where the new Love's truck stop and some of that area. And if you're looking at residential development, there are still thousands of acres of undeveloped land within the city of Madera, within their within their sphere of influence that's planned, that's all in this light purple, and it's this village type of concept. And then when you go down and look at the Polis Ranch, it's green.
You know what?
It's green. It's that conservation ag buffer, that the city wanted to have, for again, that open space and so forth. So I look at it as a grab. I look at it as an overreach by the city to want to, keep this land out of a conservation trust when it already has, boatloads of land that it's been designated for industrial and residential growth. And this area is designated green. It's designated for that buffer. And these other areas have not been developed yet. So it's like, why is, to me, it's almost like, well, decades down the road we may want it, but how about, in the near term when there's still all this other land that can be developed? And I look at, and then there's a lot more green land that is this buffer in other parts. So it's still, I just don't get it. I see it's along 99 and it's a prime place, but there's no overpass. You know how much the overpass costs at Avenue 12? And all my friends on the MCTC should know. Yeah, 105 million because of those lawsuits.
Yeah, 90 was the first estimate, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, that was the first one, yeah.
Then they tacked on 10 million for...
10 million. 15. Can you imagine what an overpass would cost at Avenue 11?
You should also get Caltrans estimators to do your estimate of what the cost of it is.
Right.
That was part of that.
How about Ellis overcrossing?
Yeah, Ellis, right. All those, it's prohibitive. And in that area, a lot of that land would be taken out just for overpass development, So I would have to disagree with staff's recommendation as far as, not moving forward with putting this thing in a conservation trust. Just now, if there's no more land that's in the general plan within the sphere of influence within the city of Madera to be developed, that's a whole different story. But you ought to see this map. You ought to pull this map up on the City of Madera General Plan website and take a look at it. So again, I look at it as overreach on the city's part.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yeah, and I tend to agree. And I put my name up again in terms of the island that it would create. It would take so long to grow past that and grow around it and to make that island. Now, me personally, as a retailer, as somebody that owns a restaurant that would love to have freeway frontage, and if I had the property, that would probably be what I'd want to keep that bundle of rights. But I'm not a farmer that bundle of rights isn't as important to me as growing crops on it and maintaining it for the rest of in perpetuity. But I didn't have quite the back up that you had on that, but they have plenty of place to grow. And most of their growth is looking in a southwestern along Avenue 12 out to the college. It would take them a long time, the city, to then go from there and then come back down and hit to 11. As much as we'd like to have another gas station or something, a target that would pull people off of the freeway for more sales tax. That's not what the property owner wants to do for their property. Again, I personally wouldn't trade that long-term right, but that's not. But I'm in a different situation, and the city's letter was tepid at best. It was discouraged. I went back and looked at the video of the city council. Their disapproval of it or opposition to it was tepid at best. We didn't really know where it was, and why would we give that up long term? What if it does get down to there? It was kind of it wasn't like my God, no, this is, we have people that are ready to come and build an off-ramp there, and it's going to be private dollars, and this is going to totally change the face of the city of Madera for the next 50 years. It was, I'm not really sure. I don't know. This is the first time I saw the APN number, and I don't want to make a decision not knowing what it looks like. So let's just say we'll discourage it. So I think I'm probably closer to Supervisor Poitras, where just approve all of them and then you make plans based around it.
We take it out to the public for public comment.
I had one more.
Let her go first.
Okay. No, it's okay.
I can wait. Is there another question?
Go ahead.
No. Good afternoon. Christina Beckstead, Executive Director at the Madera County Farm Bureau. I'm here today with two hats on. I have a letter here that I'd like to read into the record, and I have a copy for each of you from the Chowchilla Red Top Resource Conservation District. They weren't able to attend today, so I told them that I would read the letter into the record. To whom it may concern, we understand that the Meisner Polis Ranch has applied for this property to be placed into an agricultural conservation easement. Though this property does not fall in the Chowchilla Red Top RCD's district, we are partners with and share a common border with the Madera Resource Conservation District, the district where this property is located, and we would like to give our support as a partner to have this land placed in an agricultural conservation easement. It is our mission to provide education and technical guidance in sustainable resource conservation and management to our communities and landowners and managers both current and future, and this includes agricultural lands. It is our understanding that the agricultural land easements protect the long-term viability of the nation's food supply by preventing conversion of productive working lands to non-agricultural uses. Land protected by agricultural land easements provides additional public benefits, including environmental quality, historic preservation, wildlife habitat, and protection of open space. We believe that placing this land into an agricultural easement would be the best use of this land and the best benefit of the communities in our district with common borders to the district where the Meisner Polis Ranch is located. We believe that our agricultural industry is an important industry to support now and in the future, and we give our support to this development. Sincerely, Jack Fry, Vice President of the Chowchilla Red Top Resource Conservation District. Farm Bureau hat.
Hi, Jack.
On behalf of Madera County Farm Bureau, I just had a few comments that I'd like to emphasize. This property specifically, and I'll let Mr. Meisner speak to the specifics, but this property is in a Super Williamson Act, which is the long-term 20 years that automatically rolls over. And we find at the Farm Bureau that it's important to, as a county, for agriculture to be supported because it is the economic viability of Madera County. That being said, there's an interest of preserving and protecting what drives the county. And I think all of you can agree with that. Madera stands at, I think, 9 this year, number 9 on the list of top producing agricultural counties. Given the Central Valley has a few that are probably within the top 10, but the fact that we're 9 for such a small county is a very important factor. In the last 2 years that I have been with the Farm Bureau, I have listened to many Board of Supervisors meetings. I have spoken to a lot of people within the county, whether it's staff or supervisors or city officials, and there's this term that always comes up, and that is smart growth. And in fact, I think I heard it earlier today. There's all these pockets, and there's been reference today to the islands that have been created here and there, and Vision 2025, is that what it was, is let's fill in those gaps. This is outside of that gap. And it's important, and I think not only Mr. Meisner, but the surrounding property owners understand and have no intent of developing. Farming is their lifeline, if you will. So
this county needs to look at that and consider that this is a decision for the county to make. There is no, the city doesn't have the jurisdiction at this point. It's outside of the sphere of influence, and this is a county decision. And just based on comments that have been said over the last 2 years that I have heard, we need to focus on that smart growth. And by limiting this, you're not focusing on that smart growth. And in some ways, it looks to the county that the county doesn't care to preserve agricultural land. To the compensation part of it and the fact that you can't ever convert it back to eminent domain is always an option. And as far as compensation goes, Mr. Meisner is being compensated for the loss of his rights. He loses multiple rights when he enters into one of these easements. It's not, here's a check because this is what you're doing and you're going to make all this money on it. No, in the future, when he so chooses to sell this land, or maybe one of his kids or heirs decides to sell the land, that land all goes as one. And so you lose your rights to it. You're losing that constitutional right to do what you want with your property. And so that's what he is being reimbursed for. He's not necessarily being overly compensated. So I think that touches on what I needed, and I apologize if I'm a little frazzled. But thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Supervisors. I'm Dennis Meisner, Jr., and I reside at 30166 Avenue 11, which you've seen here today is referred to as the Polis Ranch. It's approximately 65 plus minus acres.
How many was that? I'm sorry.
65.
Oh, 65. Okay.
Yes. I've resided there since 85 myself personally. It's been in my family since the late 70s. I believe that it's important to consider all the facts pertinent to sites when decisions are being made. And I have some more to add that may help you with your decision today. Yes, I'm the one who came before you before and requested to be put in the Farmland Security Zone, which is the 20-year Williamson Act. And that is currently in place on the Polis Ranch today. Clearly, I have no intent of doing non-renewal. I have no intent to develop or do something with the property. There are several reasons why, because you may be wondering, since you've heard that this property must be highly valued along the corridor. It does have some historical significance at the intersection, or the cul-de-sac of 10 and a half at the southern edge of the property is where the B-52 crashed, I think, back in the 50s. I once in a while see some remaining parts out there after I'm tilling the ground. Just adjacent to that in the freeway is the equidistant point to the northern and southern border, which is indicated by the cedar tree and the palm tree. But more pertinent to the reason it wouldn't be developed is that the property at its highest point is about 3 foot below the floodplain. Okay. I found this out when I attempted to put the pole barn up in 2009, and it was an insistence of senior planner that I have to have an elevation certificate. When I told him, okay, I understand, but I'm not going to build a pad up 3 foot in order to build a pole barn just to put my tractors in. But I still was forced to get certifications on that, which cost me about $1,200. So I'm privy to the fact that the property is about 269 foot. Which, if you look at Google Earth, it will tell you that if you put a pinpoint on where my house is. The floodplain is at like 273 something. That is at the highest point, which is closest to Avenue 11. When you get down by 10 and a half at the southern point, it is even further depressed. It was explained to my family, or conveyed to my father from Paul Polis, who was the prior owner of the property, hence the name Polis referral, that there was an agreement in order to take dirt away from that particular area when the overpass at Avenue 11 was constructed. That is where the dirt came from, which further lowered that elevation. It also happens to be a natural drain from that coming from the ranches. There are culverts that go underneath the freeway that convey the water to the other side during these times that we have had some high floods. I recall back in the early 80s when we did have such a flood event, and I had about 3.5 foot of water submerged to where the cordon was about 3 inches just above the top of the water. Given the significance of elevation and building, it's just inconceivable that anyone would bring in the amount of dirt that would be required in order to develop or build anything on this property in the future. It just would not make sense. So that, coupled with the fact that it is in the Williamson Act, and unless the board chooses to cancel all of those, I have no intent to remove it or file non-renewal. And so it would be protected from that sense. I am somewhat dismayed that I personally went in and spoke with Dave Merchant, staff at the city, and conveyed these pertinent information, site-specific matters to him. But it appears that he has failed to even communicate that to the people that he presented to, that he works for, which I think is a real disservice when staff does not provide those who are making the decisions with all the information. It's hard to make a good decision.
That's when we got good staff.
I also wanted to share what knowledge I have of having gone through the Williamson Act, and yes, there is, through that process, there was an assessment calculation which reduced property taxes. This action here would not, for what I see, have any fiscal impact on the county because there is no requirement of the assessor to make any accommodations for this easement, nor is there any administrative duties that the county has to oversee, as the farmland trust actually sits in that capacity and reviews the property to make sure that it is operating within the guidelines of the easement. And in fact, the property owner, myself, there is an expectation that we contribute a portion back of those grant monies in order to help them cover the administrative costs in this perpetuity of time. I did hear from Mr. Merchant his concerns, and the proximity, as he stated, was not from the city, was not unlike that from Shaw to Herndon and Fresno. But again, I think there's kind of a comparison of apples to oranges. And even if you wanted to still make that comparison, I know American Grape Harvester is along the 99 between Shaw and Herndon. There are other ag and industrial things going on at that place. My understanding of the easement is there are many things that can be done with the property as long as it is an agricultural related activity. But they can determine those things that can and can't be done, and they have the oversight of that. So it doesn't burden the county with having to come back and look or review it to find out if that has been within compliance. So in this instance, basically we are looking to provide the Department of Conservation the acknowledgement from the local governing body that, that you are in favor of having, protecting farmland. And this is also an action that does that. So I would ask for your approval of all 3 parcels. I am the trustee of the 2 trusts that hold ownership over the 3 parcels. The 1 parcel, my sister is a co-trustee because it was our parents' trust. But we were doing those all in unison, and it applied all at the same time. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yeah, thank you, Dennis. A couple of questions. First, staff, when the city came back with that new sphere of influence they wanted a couple of years ago, that we scaled down, how far did that go past 12? It was on the other side of 12. I just don't remember how far.
Yeah, I believe it goes just a little.
That's the old one. You got the old one? I'm not talking about the one then, because remember when they wanted to expand.
Yeah, I think it goes to about. It goes to about 11 and a half, Avenue 11. So it's about a half mile south of Avenue 12 is where that sphere of influence
So it didn't
goes.
quite go to...
No, it's quite a ways from the
I
subject
just wanted
parcel
to make sure
in
if that's
question.
what the city was still planning, because we knocked that way down when we renegotiated that, so Brett and I.
We've grown further away from you.
Yeah. And Christina said, you lose your rights when you do this. You do, but you do when you sell the property too. It's the same thing. I mean, you have no more say on it if you sell it or if you sell it to the conservation unit. And does this go out of the tax roll when you do this on this piece?
Well, I continue to pay taxes on the property. There isn't
The
a
taxes
change
don't
in
change?
calculation.
No. Because some of the conservation easements up there, like the one we're looking at, Manzanita Lake there won't be no taxes on that, so.
I think it depends on whose hands it is, if it's in a governmental agency.
I believe so, but Mr. Meisner is accurate. This action, if the board approves the resolution, has no impact upon the taxes that he pays today or the taxes that he would pay next year. It doesn't impact his tax bill that he receives.
Okay.
Still comes in the mail.
I guess that's all my little notes.
And we owe it if it doesn't.
Yeah.
Roger?
Thank you.
All right.
No question?
Thank you.
I move that we...
Let's take it out to the public.
Wasn't that the public?
Bring it back.
I move that we approve 1 and 2. I don't want to approve 3, as it says.
If I may, Supervisor, the resolution that's been presented is a resolution in support. So the request from staff was to deny that resolution. So if you simply support that resolution, in essence, you're approving that Polish Ranch.
So I move to approve and support items 7E, 1, 2, and 3. Does that...
To go into a conservation.
For all 3 of them to go into a conservation.
I'll second that.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
By the time that would be ready for development, the state will tell us that you can't develop anything outside of current city boundaries. I mean, land use will be completely changed by then.
Well, it's just like Parkwood, when you said that, I was going to say something, but, look at how many acres was between, or miles between that and the city. Now
Right.
look.
No, there's no, yeah.
Right. It happens.
Mm-hmm. All right.
7G, Community and Economic Development Department, Planning Division. Introduction of an ordinance amending sections 1.24.020 and 1.24.060 of Title I of Madera County Code pertaining to legal boundary changes to supervisorial districts 1 and 5. Waive the reading and set the hearing of the October 24, 2017 at 10 a.m.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an item that was initially heard, and the board, we received direction on back in May, and Jamie Bax does have a PowerPoint presentation that we can go through. I also have Jerome Keene, who's with QK, who assisted the department in the mapping aspects and the census data for this item as well.
We had it and then we lost it.
Quadnoff is short enough. You don't need to call it QK. That's weird.
We're always looking for efficiencies.
QK.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So before you is the second hearing for the midterm supervisorial redistricting as per the Elections Code. However, it is the first reading for the ordinance change with the legal boundary changes. So Jerome Keene is here, as Matt mentioned, and he can go over some of the census data that he went over while preparing this.
Good afternoon, Board. Before you typically do any sort of supervisorial district boundaries, you have to have the data to back up any proposed change you have. Usually you use the census data that comes out every 10 years. It's very specific. It carries very fine, defined demographic information regarding the districts that is easily discernible. When you do a midterm district boundary adjustment, the information is still there. It's not as fine. What we did was we still used the American Community Survey information, which is provided by the Census Bureau, that comes out every year. And then we coupled that with Assessor's Office GIS information regarding where there are houses, maybe there's 2 houses on a parcel, and then used the average persons per household number to extrapolate what the areas that weren't as well defined. We split those and we used that assessor's data to calculate what that population would be in the areas that were split or not easily discernible where the current district boundaries were. So based on that, the before change numbers, you had 146,672 people according to the American Community Survey. That breaks out to an average of 29,334, which is your ideal. That's what you want all your districts to be if you want perfection. And then the breakdown for the 5 districts is listed below that. You had 3 districts above the mean for the county, and then you had 2 below, with District 2 being very close to that mean. I think it's an attribute to the work that we did back in 2011 with the redistricting previously. But you have District 5 that still remains on the lower end, furthest away from the mean. So with that, the proposed adjustment would be along the canal at 145, and then taking that straight across Road 145 to, I believe that's 206 at the Fresno-Madera County boundary. It creates a very easily discernible boundary, as well as bring 2 districts closer to the mean. You had District 1, which was slightly above the mean. It brings it down closer to that 29,300-ish number. And then you have District 5, which is brought up closer to the mean, coming up from 25,000 to almost 26,000. By doing that, you would move the community of O'Neill's, which was approximately 500 people, into District 5, and then you would move the area where the quarry was recently approved into District 1. That creates your nice, solid, clean boundary along that southern portion of District 5 and the northeast portion of District 1. As I stated, it brings both closer to the mean, which is the overall goal. When the next census comes around, you'll have another adjustment to do. We just wanted to give you a small preview of what you would be looking at. You obviously have a nice, shiny new development out by 41 and 12 that you will have more people. But again, that's District 1, so that's going to bring it likely above that mean again. So you're going to have to figure out how to shift people around throughout the county to try and bring districts closer to the mean. You don't have a lot of growth going on in District 5, so the likelihood that you'll have to adjust District 5 again is highly likely. But you'll have more discernible, accurate data that will reflect the growth out in Rio Mesa, as well as growth in other parts of the county to deal with at that time.
Downtown Chowchilla.
What's the cause of that population reduction in District 5?
I'm sorry?
What the reason or the cause for population reduction in District 5?
Supervisor, there are certainly a number of factors, right? District 5 has a lot of topography. There are certain limitations on the type of, the density and the development that you can have in a lot of those areas. It certainly is a resort community, so you have a number of homes that you don't have registered voters here. They reside in a different part of the state or the country. But as Jerome has stated, right, we'll certainly be looking at when we have the full census data in 2020 2022, and have a cleaner look and be able to look at that. There's certainly some development potential, significant development potential in District 5. It's just yet to break ground, and we have to utilize real numbers, not what's assumed development or what we can anticipate. That's why we look at this and go through this exercise a minimum of every decade when we have that census data, so we can try to do best to true up those numbers and make it equal across the boards. You're never going to have it equal between all 5. The legislation understands that, and this process certainly has that, but we try to get it as close as we can to even between all the districts as far as population base.
And if I could add to that, I think Matt makes a great point that you have to go based on what the numbers tell you. You can't say, well, we're anticipating growth in this part of the county, let's put it in now. You look at the numbers and you divide it up accordingly, because that's the apportionment required for voting, really, is what you're looking at. You want that many constituents, and you want an even spread of those constituents across your 5 districts as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. How often can you do this?
I would think in theory you could do it every year if you really wanted to, based on doing a census every year, but you likely, a lot of places don't have the resources to do it every year, or the time, or want to put in the effort. If the minimum, as Matt said, is every 10 years and you get free data to do it, that's the minimum required under the law, to at least look at it.
And there was a threshold that you have to be within a percentage for it to be variance, right? What is that percentage? And
I believe it's around 3%.
Yeah, my understanding is it is at 3% that the state says, and it's not exactly a legal issue, but it's certainly to avoid a higher likelihood of any legal aspects. We try to maintain and try to keep it within that 3 to 4% for at the high end, for sure.
We'll take it out to the public. Bring it back.
Rob had something to say. I think Rob does too.
Yep. Supervisor Poitras.
Thank you. I just wanted to, so we're pretty sure we don't have to do this again before 2021.
That is correct, unless it's the board's position that they'd like to look at that. Certainly, it's feasible. It is the board's if the board wanted to go that. Staff, I think, my recommendation would be yes, we wait for that free data. We look at that again when we have in 3 to 5 years we're going to have all that data we need to be back before your body with another true up and get those numbers closer.
Because Jerome's time's not free, I don't think.
Well, today is. It's free, and he's also providing hors d'oeuvres after the board meeting too. So we can thank QK for that.
What would drive, for instance, what would drive something between now and 2021 to? Because this occurred, and I know it was, a little probably expensive, and so what would?
I mean, I think a driving force on that would look at, there's a lot occurring in the Rio Mesa area in southeast Madera, right? If we had 1,000 homes that have been built, that are built between now and, 2018, 2019, that might bring to discussion that maybe we need to look at this a little sooner. In my opinion, it's probably highly unlikely that we're going to see the need to really, that there's going to be a legal reason or concerns to go and look at that. But that's not to say that the board doesn't have the authority to do that yearly.
What would the reason be that is it like there's too much of a population for a supervisor to handle? Is that the idea, or what would a legal reason? What would another?
Yeah, I think it's the voting power and the number of constituents that an individual
voting power, and that's what we're left
is
out
representing.
Behind. We're way behind, so that's one reason we've been talking about this for 3 to 4 years. 5 maybe even. So
I think really the issue is you want everybody's vote to carry the same weight as much as possible. If you're in a district that has more than the average, each person's weight of vote isn't proportionally worth the same as someone else in another district that has fewer voters. What you're trying to do is get everybody into an equitable place where their vote carries the same weight.
But more than likely, with the decisions we make and what's going on, this thing can wait till 2021.
I would say, Supervisor, certainly a further update from what we have proposed and what's, was directed earlier this year. I don't see the need to certainly look at any further amendments or updates at this stage than what we have presented here today and proposed for the board's consideration today. Thank you.
Okay.
I got something to say.
Mr. Wheeler?
Yeah, I just, we've been talking about this because I have been on the low end of the totem pole for a long time. And so and I'm the one that's, this is probably a crazy thing for Tom Wheeler even to support, because I'm taking on people that's never been in my district that might, every one of them, vote no for me. So I'm the one that's going to take that hit, and I don't mind doing it because I'm looking out for my whole district that has equal rights when we're voting on anything. So that's what the whole county. To the whole county, yeah, that's what I'm looking at. So each one of us represent our district, but each one of us, I think, have Madera in our heart. So we just need to have equal representation. That's all. That's the whole idea of this whole thing. I mean, that's the reason they got that law at 3%. So, and it's not, I don't think, set in stone like Matt said. They'll go either way, but this way you're not discriminating against a DAC community or racial community or something like that. And that's the reason they have this like this, so it does protect that.
Okay. Well, we already took it out to the public.
Move to approve.
Waive the reading.
Move to waive the reading and set the second hearing.
Was October 24th, second.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0. Chairman, I need to back up to 7F.
Yes, to say you left one F out. I was wondering what was going on. So
7F, Community and Economic Development Department, Planning Division. Introduction of an ordinance amending Chapter 2.42 of Title II of the Madera County Code pertaining to the Madera County Planning Commission. Waive the reading and set the hearing for October 24th at 10 a.m.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I do apologize to County Council and to the Clerk Recorder for the previous item. A big thank you to both those entities for that. But, however, this ordinance before you today does allow for Planning Commissioner. They must reside within Madera County to serve on the Planning Commission. It, in essence, does away with boundary or district boundary restrictions. It allows you as a board member to make a appointment or a request for appointment of anybody that would reside within the county. You have to reside here. You can't simply own a business and live in Fresno County, for example. You have to reside in the county. Staff's available for any questions. We would recommend that you waive the first reading and set the hearing for October 24th on this item.
Any comments? We'll take it out to the public. Bring it back for action.
second.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 4-0, one away. 7H, Water and Natural Resources and Community and Economic Development Departments. Installation of water flow meters and water level meter regulations. 1, discussion and consideration to direct staff to reassign water flow meter permit applications from Public Works Department to the Community and Economic Development Department and the Water and Natural Resources Department. 2, discussion and consideration to direct staff to amend County Code Sections 13.101.010 and 13.101.050 regarding the implementation and management of the installation of water flow meters and water level measuring devices.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the board. Julia Berry with the Water and Natural Resources Department. I have next to me Mr. Ahmad Akhayat, the Director of the Public Works Department. Also, Dexter Marr with the head of the Environmental Health Division, and Matt Treber with the Community and Economic Development Department. Today, we'd like to propose to you some changes in the way that we handle our water flow meter permits and the permitting process. We have a presentation to support our recommendation. Okay, so just a very, very fast history. This ordinance was put into place in December of 2014, and it was enacted or adopted and then put into, and we started operating under this ordinance in January of 2015. It created the Ordinance County Code 13.101. So the water meter permit only applies to new and replacement wells. Currently, the fee is $173 to have a water meter permit. There are two things required under the permit. You have to have your meter inspected. You must have a flow meter and a water level measuring device, which tells us obviously the level of your groundwater. You also are supposed to, at this time, currently report quarterly what your water use is to the county. So just a quick explanation of the difference between a well permit and a meter permit and why they're separate. Well permits are simply to drill a hole to create the location for a well. It can be capped, it can be used immediately, but essentially you're just putting a hole in the ground where you have a well. That's why it's a separate permit. The water meter permit, it has to be installed, and it's usually triggered when a pump is put on the well. So you usually have an electrical permit and a water meter permit in conjunction with each other. So the current workflow goes like this. The property owner has to come to the county and apply for a water meter permit. The Public Works Department then schedules an inspection of the permit, and the Building Division separately schedules an inspection of the electrical panel. So we have two separate departments working on the same location. Public Works inspects the water meter, the Building Division inspects the electrical permit. If they're both in compliance, then the well is considered to be in compliance under our code. So that's our current workflow. We'd like to propose a change in assignment of duties. Instead of having Public Works review the well permits, instead Environmental Health, who receives the well permits, will review the permit and determine whether or not there is a meter required. And then my department, the Water and Natural Resources Department, will be notified through our POSSE system, our internal system, by flagging the parcel, that there needs to be a communication from my department that lets them know what the rules are, that they need to have a water meter permit, a water measuring device, and they also need to have an electrical inspection. So what we'd like to change is we'd like to put the electrical inspection and the water meter permit together so that the Building Division goes out at the same time and we are more efficient, and we can also save time for property owners, and they can achieve both inspections at the same time. And we also make sure that the meter permit gets in place, because you can't turn on your pump without having a meter in place. So that's what we're proposing. So we'll be removing any of the requirements for Public Works to look at these applications, except for in the time when a landowner wants to propose a different meter that is different than our standards. We would then take that application and send that over to Public Works. They review it for compliance and all the standards they need to look at to make sure that the meter will work. But that would be the only time that Public Works would be involved. The other thing that would change is that we'll be more proactive about reaching out to landowners and informing them about what they're required to do, instead of relying on them to come to the county and pull a water meter permit like we have been doing in the past. So once these things have been done, we are also proposing that the code section be amended to change the reporting requirement. We do think they should continue to report their water use, but we don't think it needs to be done quarterly. We think once a year at the end of the water year in October makes sense. And so we would also like to propose that the Water and Natural Resources Department aggregate and collect that data and also chase that data down and be in charge of enforcing the collection of that data. The last recommendation is we'd like to ask for approval for the Water and Natural Resources Department to come forward at a later date to propose a fee schedule for noncompliance, because we do not have that at this time. That concludes my presentation.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yeah, I think this is a good proposal. Streamline the effort a little bit and unconvolute, if that's a word, deconvolute or untangle a little bit of a mess we have there with too many departments involved where they don't really need to be. I mean, it's what does Public Works have to do with somebody putting in a well at all, period? I mean, and literally nothing. I don't know how that got done that way to begin with. So it's really an unnecessary process, part of the process, and I think it's a good suggestion all the way around. Thank you.
Ahmad, you call for good faith reporting. Can you trust that those reports come in from the owners of the property or the wells? The information to submit?
Well, Supervisor, this is a task. One of the tasks that will be moved over to Committee on Economics, and the keeper of the data will be Julia or her department. But the issue of trust, I mean, they're meters. I mean, this is something we can discuss later, how we can get the results and data. I'll leave it to Julia. I mean, there will be meters, so it's a matter of just reading the meters.
Confirm or verify that the figures are correct?
So with the amount of staff that we have now, we really can't go out and read meters. And there's also an issue with private property access. You know, we don't have the right to go onto people's properties and read their meters. So what we can do is put the rules in place. And I think what's missing in the program right now is we don't have any tools for landowners to make it easy for them. So we'll be putting together a form that they can easily fill out and understand so that they can read their meter. We'll be available in our department to help them understand how to do that. And if I need some field staff to go out and help people do that, we'll have to figure that out. But, we have to trust that people will do it. The other piece of this is that in the eyes of the state, as we look at the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, it's very important that we as a county show that we are at least making an effort to put in meters because they like meters. And so we need to show that we're making an effort to get into compliance.
Bless you. Thank you. Supervisor Rogers?
Yeah, I also think that at this point, the data that we collect would be usable later on for GSPs. And that's the sole purpose for collecting the information. It's not that we're looking for a person to comply with a sustainable yield or with an amount that they're going to pump out. Fact is that most, if not all farmers that I know of and all people using pumps are going to minimize their use of that to the absolute nth degree because it's so expensive to do it. I have one ag well that it costs between $5,000 and $6,000 in a month to run it for 4 times a month for a few hours, and that's a lot of money. So you're going to minimize that kind of expense as best you can, and you're going to use every drop of water that comes out of that to the maximum degree. So I think, worrying about people not doing the right thing where water is concerned. Sure, there's people that are going to have leaky pipes that are going to bust and things are going to happen and people are going to try to take care of those. But in general, people are not going to be water wasters, in my opinion. when it's that expensive. I mean, anybody that's throwing that money away, more power to them. Good luck to them. They won't last long as far as I'm concerned.
Won't be in business long.
I have one
Yeah.
can I just make one comment? The other thing, too, is that if we put together a fee structure for noncompliance and people don't report, then we have the ability to, collect some money for that. And that money can go toward, we have to have a monitoring well network that we have to install, and they're expensive. They're
CAS Gym?
Mhm. Well, it's
Well, more
in
than
addition
CAS
to
Gym,
CAS
yeah.
Gym. And we have to have a dedicated monitoring network for Sigma.
Right.
And so, we need to fund that somehow. And so if people are not complying, we can certainly use that money for that program. But we will collect more data.
One other
more
thing
than we
real
have now.
quick while I'm on that, and I'll let Tom speak. I found out this week, that one of our, when we talked about them, Triangle T, they've recharged as much as 30,000 acre feet into the ground, and that the groundwater's come up about 60 feet in some areas, and that's fantastic news. And that is just, that kind of a report is amazing, because that's 50 feet is what I know we lost during the drought. So to get that kind of a figure is really, that's encouraging. And it just says that when they put their minds to it, we can solve this problem as private individuals and put our effort into it. It's not necessarily the government that's going to solve it. We're the ones that are going to solve it, and I think that's a great example. Anyway, Tom?
Yeah. Thank you. This is for every well now that's going to be drilled in Madera County?
New or replacement?
This is only new or replacement wells, and replacement wells are just a different kind of a new well. It's a well that you drill, I cannot speak today, that you drill next to an existing well because you think that well is going to go bad or it's going to dry up, so you put a replacement well next to it. You might cap it and wait.
In the mountains too?
But it's a different kind of new well, so only new wells.
Yeah, new wells in the mountains.
No.
Just,
Well, I don't know.
500-foot elevation? Or?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm thinking of, yes, all wells.
All wells.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
Fred, do you want to?
This isn't a new ordinance. This is just updating the process by which we do this, right? This is already passed and in place. We're not imposing anything new. It's just streamlining it, making it easier for the well owners to put in their data. It's making sure that everybody has it, where in the past there may have been some slips in the cracks, and now we don't have that, right? This is just tightening everything up and having a good program. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're just seeking approval to change the language in the ordinance. It's already existing to reflect the changes in responsibility.
You got it. Move to approve.
Second. We didn't take it out to the public yet. Okay. We have done that. Bring it back to the motion.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0. 7I, Board of Directors, Groundwater Sustainability Agency, Water and Natural Resources Department. Discussion and consideration to designate one representative and one alternate for the Board of Supervisors, from the Board of Supervisors to the Chowchilla Subbasin Coordination Committee.
Okay, so I know it's the end of the day. This is tough for me, being at the end of the day, because everybody's tired, and there's a lot of committees.
What did you say? I couldn't.
What's that?
I was napping over here. What did you say?
I know. So I just want to differentiate. There are a lot of committees. We're creating our own committees at the county level, right? We're going to have our own advisory committees. This is not these committees. Each subbasin has, the Madera subbasin, the Chowchilla subbasin, Delta Mendota does not have this kind of committee. We need somebody from the Board of Supervisors to sit on the decision-making committee with the other agencies. So, for example, in the Madera subbasin, they'll have MID, Gravelly Ford, all the different agencies will have one person and an alternate that sits on the committee. That will be coming next. Today we're looking at the Chowchilla subbasin. So we need someone from this board to be the representative on the Chowchilla subbasin GSP formation committee and an alternate. And it needs to be an elected and another elected.
Since most of District 1 is in the Chowchilla
Yeah.
5-2.
So the parties to the board, just so you know, just so the public knows, the parties to this committee will be Merced County, Madera County, Triangle T Water District, Madera County, and we also have in our jurisdiction Sierra Vista Mutual Water Company, and they are mutual. They can participate. They don't have a vote, but they want to be on the committee, and they're interested in paying for their portion of the groundwater sustainability plan if we incur any costs. So they will be sitting on the committee as a non-voting member also.
And who was that?
The Sierra Vista Mutual Water Company.
Oh, Sierra, okay.
Mm-hmm. It's up on the Chowchilla River. Yeah. So we just need to appoint a representative and an alternate.
Most of it's in Dave's district, right?
You want to speak?
Oh, no, that was from the last one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I indicated in my board
I
letter.
make a motion to appoint Dave as first, and I'll be the alternate since it's in my district also.
Second? Oh, go ahead. Yeah. I'll second that.
Okay, great, and you have a meeting tomorrow morning at 9.
Rhonda?
That's awesome.
Just kidding.
I'd like to be on the alternate committee to pre-meet on that meeting.
Yeah, the breakfast meeting before the meeting. Okay. Did you go to the public? I'm sorry. Okay. Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier? Yes. Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0. 7J, Board of Directors, Groundwater Sustainability Agency, Water and Natural Resources Department. Discussion and consideration of entering into a memorandum of understanding with respect to the preparation of a groundwater sustainability plan with the Madera Subbasin. Okay, so again, Julia with the Department of Water Resources, Water and Natural Resources. I'm not with the California DWR, sorry, I'm with the county department. So you have before you a memorandum of understanding that is being adopted by 6 of the 7 agencies in the Madera Subbasin. We will, at this time, have 2 groundwater sustainability plans in the Madera Subbasin. The new Stormwater District has chosen to write their own plan. So the county is going to be the applicant for the next round of Prop 1 funding, and in order to be eligible for that funding, we have to have something in writing that says we're coordinating and communicating with the other 6 agencies with whom we're writing this groundwater sustainability plan, and that's what this MOU does. So it indicates that we are committing to one groundwater sustainability plan together. It designates Madera County as the fiscal agent for Prop 1 grant funding, so we'll be the applicant and the grantee. At this time, we're applying for $2.5 million for the Madera Subbasin. $1.5 million will be to fund the writing of the groundwater sustainability plan, and another $1 million will be for severely disadvantaged communities activities. And we've recently learned, which is good news, that because the Madera Subbasin and the Chowchilla Subbasin, for what it's worth, are so highly disadvantaged, the Madera Subbasin is 65% disadvantaged, the Chowchilla Subbasin is 79% disadvantaged, that we will not have any grant cost share.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was good news that we got.
Now, and for this, so even if other people break off and do their own GSP, we still have to have an MOU or understanding that we'll coordinate with them anyway, so this is something that's important.
Mm-hmm. We have to have this to be eligible for our grant application. We have to show that we are committed and that we're coordinating with each other. Yes.
We're playing nice in the sandbox.
Yeah.
The mud box.
And I don't foresee, I think these 6 agencies, we're doing great. I mean, I don't foresee any problems with anybody breaking off.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Move to approve.
Second.
Call for the vote. Take it out to the public. Was it out to the public yet?
Did you want to say something, public? Please say something. Bring it back.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
The vote passes 5-0.
All right.
8, pending legislation. Discuss, support, or oppose legislation presented by supervisors and/or staff reports or staff. Number 9, supervisors and staff reports.
Nothing to report.
Nothing for him, nothing for me.
I attended RCRC and Regional Health Authority discussed.
Did you do any good? Yeah.
Nothing to report.
All right, closed session. Do you have a
Ready, boss? Ready. Ready to report.
No chairman, no reportable action from closed session. Yes, when you take action, pull me.
What are you going to say down there? Come on, tell me. See you, Mr. Senator.